Chapter 14:11. He's from our district. He wanted to chase me, but I rejected him. So he came to cause trouble. Tang Yun said simply, "Let's not talk about this first. I need to call Gooden and ask him what should we do with this Wu Chintian's." Tang Yun picked up her phone and was about to call Mingyao's house number when Faubert walked in with big steps. "Tang Yun, are you there? Are you okay? Did the enemy leave?" "Faubert." Tang Yun put down the phone when she saw Uncle Fu. "Uncle Fu, Wu Chintian's injured by Uncle Zhu. Do you want to send him to the hospital?" Uncle Fu's eyes lit up when he saw Uncle Fu. "Oh." Faubert heard Tang Yun's words and quickly walked over. He bent down and checked Chintian's injury, frowning. "It would be great if Lily was here, but he isn't, so we can only send him to the hospital first. I'll drive him there now. Do you want to come with me?" "Okay." Tang Yun nodded. Wu Chintian was injured because of her. Naturally, she wouldn't just ignore him. Tang Yun quickly changed her shoes and said to her mother, "Mom, you stay at home and ask the management to fix the door. I'll go out for a while." Tang Yun wasn't worried that Uncle Zhu and the others would come back, since they ran away after hearing Lin Yi's name. It was obvious that they wouldn't come back. But what happened today made Tang Yun a little depressed. Zhao Fafa didn't know how strong Lin Yi was, but the helper he invited, Uncle Zhu, was very afraid of Lin Yi. He ran away after hearing Lin Yi's name, as if he was afraid that Lin Yi would come to him. If that was the case, Tang Yun should have told Uncle Zhu about Lin Yi's name earlier. How could she let Chintian get injured? But how would she know that Zhao Fafa didn't tell Uncle Zhu about Lin Yi's name? On the way to the hospital, Tang Yun told Faubert what happened. Faubert nodded and sighed. "So it's Uncle Zhu. He's the bodyguard that Lin Yi injured. It was because of the demolition of your house that Lin Yi did it." "Ah, it's him. No wonder he's so scared of Lin Yi." Tang Yun realized, "When I came here before, I saw two people coming out of your unit got into a Ferrari sports car and left. It turned out to be the two of them. If I knew this, I would have stopped them." Faubert said, "There's no need for that. Now that Lin Yi isn't home, it's better to avoid trouble. Let's wait for Lin Yi to come back first." Tang Yun didn't want to cause trouble when Lin Yi wasn't home. "All right, we'll wait for Lin Yi to come back." Faubert nodded. Chintian's injuries were all internal. Chintian was a physical practitioner, and his meridians were of little use, but it would still affect his strength a little. Even if his injuries were healed, he wouldn't be able to return to his previous strength. Plus, his organs were all injured, and it wasn't something that could be healed in a short amount of time. According to normal treatment, he'd have to stay in bed for at least a year. However, Chintian's life wasn't in danger at the moment. This made Faubert and Tang Yun let out a sigh of relief. Chintian hadn't woken up yet, but he was out of danger. This way, they could just wait for Lin Yi to come back and treat his other injuries. However, the two bodyguards at home were injured. The situation was quite serious. Faubert had to be more careful in protecting Meng Yao and the others. He had to hold on until Lin Yi came back. It had only been 3 days since the bank robbery and the jewelry store robbery in Songshan, and now another shocking robbery had occurred. Another bank was robbed. The modus operandi was the same as before. It was a one-sided robbery with violence. The robber was still alone. After entering the bank, he did not say a word. He directly broke the counter window and jumped in to rob the bank. Then he used violence to destroy the safety deposit box and took away the cash and foreign currency inside. The robbery method was very fast. The whole process was very short. In just a few minutes, the bank was emptied, and the robber left the bank in a hurry. By the time the police arrived at the scene, the robber was long gone. This kind of method wasn't common. In the past, robbers always worked in groups. The first thing they did after entering the bank was to take hostages and threaten the bank staff to open the safety deposit box for them. This way, they would waste a lot of time and give the police enough time to get to the scene. But this robber's speed was shockingly fast. There was no hesitation at all. Ling Shan didn't think that she'd run into such a big case as soon as she got back to the police station. What gave her a headache was that Lu Wangli told her that there were 2 other robberies that happened before, and the method was exactly the same. At first, Ling Shan was very happy that she had arrested Old Hay, Old Kung, James, and Old Hao's men around the tomb. This case wasn't perfect, but it was done smoothly. The suspects were all arrested, and this was a great achievement. But Ling Shan didn't even get the chance to rejoice when trouble came one after another. 3 robberies in such a short period of time. This drove Ling Shan crazy. Just who was this person? How could they be so daring, committing crimes consecutively? Yu Qian and Ling Shan returned to the police station together. They had planned to discuss the interrogation of the suspects, but now it seemed like they wouldn't be able to discuss it any time soon. Yu Qian sighed as he saw Ling Shan's frown. Ling Shan, don't give yourself too much pressure. The robberies have already happened. There's no use worrying about it. We can only try our best to find clues. But from the looks of it, this person is definitely a practitioner as well. Yeah, it has to be a practitioner. This makes it harder to solve the case. Ling Shan said, almost all the practitioners in Songshan have records here. I'm afraid we'll have to contact Feng Tianlong for help. This is a bit beyond our capabilities. That's right, if the suspect really is a practitioner, then we'll have to talk to the Secret Investigation Department and get them to send help. Yu Qian nodded. Let's talk about the tomb first. Chapter 14:12. But at that moment, a knock came from Ling Shan's office door. Come in. Ling Shan didn't think much of it. She thought it was her subordinate reporting on the progress of the investigation. But the person who opened the door wasn't one of Ling Shan's subordinates, but Yu Feng from House Yu. Ling Shan, I heard from the guard downstairs that you're back today, so I bought some good food to celebrate. Congratulations on your successful mission. Yu Feng walked in with a smile on his face. In his hand was a bag filled with all sorts of delicious food. In fact, Yu Feng had been coming to look for Ling Shan quite a bit recently, but the guard said that Ling Shan wasn't back yet. So, Yu Feng came here every day to see if Ling Shan was back or not. The heavens didn't disappoint the hardworking. And Yu Feng quickly bought a bunch of good food to celebrate with Ling Shan, as well as to get closer to her. The Noble House meeting was just around the corner. And seeing that House Xiao had the support of the Hidden House Pai, House Yu's position was in danger. Yu Feng knew that he had to get some support for his house in order to stand firm in the Noble House meeting. Ling Shan didn't expect it to be Yu Feng. She frowned. What the hell was this guy doing? She'd only been back for half a day, and he was already at her doorstep. Ling Shan was quite troubled. Ling Shan looked at Yu Feng. Why were you here? What's up? Didn't I tell you? I'm here to celebrate your successful mission. Yu Feng smiled. This case is closed, so you don't have anything to do now, right? You can go on a date with me now, right? You know that my father and Grandpa Song both want us to get closer. Who told you? I don't have anything to do. Haven't you been watching TV lately? There's been a lot of robberies and I need to hurry up and study the case. If you don't have anything to do, please go back. I need to work. Ling Shan said. Wah? Yu Feng paused, remembering that the news did report on the recent robberies in Songshan, but it didn't have much to do with him, so he didn't think much of it. But now that Ling Shan was talking about it, he realized that it had something to do with Ling Shan. This person was too wicked. Why did he have to rob others for no reason? If he found out who did it, he would definitely beat him into a cripple. Yu Feng cursed the robbers inwardly. Weren't they ruining his good fortune? If you needed money, you could have gone somewhere else. Why did you come to Ling Shan's turf? Are you purposely trying to mess with me? If that's the case, but we can't make an empty stomach. We cannot eat, right? It's almost time for dinner. It won't be too late to have a meal first before discussing the case, right? Yu Feng continued to persuade. No, it's not too late to eat after I finish studying the case. You eat first, Ling Shan said faintly and turned to Yu Qian. Let's continue our discussion. Ahem. Yu Feng felt a wave of annoyance. Why was this colleague of Lingshan's so blind? He'd already said that. And this guy was still sitting there, as if nothing had happened. Why didn't he realize that he was a third wheel? Yufeng coughed and hinted, it's time to get off work. Even if you're working overtime, you should at least eat first, right? Plus, even if you don't eat, your colleague has to eat, right? You can't let them go hungry, can you? It's fine, I'm not hungry, Yu Qian said cooperatively. He knew that Lingshan hated Yufeng and didn't want to be with him. Naturally, he'd help her. Chen Yuqian's words infuriated Yufeng. Are you an idiot or what? What's wrong with you? It was such an obvious hint, and he couldn't tell? Yufeng didn't know what to do. Mister, I'm going to have dinner with my girlfriend. You go eat first, okay? Your girlfriend? Yu Qian couldn't help but frown. He didn't want to get involved in this. After all, Lingshan wasn't his girlfriend, and he didn't have the right to interfere. But Yu Feng's words were getting more and more out of hand, and he couldn't take it anymore. Lingshan wasn't his girlfriend, but she was his sister. She was very important to him, and he could accept her being with someone she liked. As long as Lingshan was happy, he wouldn't say anything. But Yu Qian wouldn't allow someone she didn't like to harass her. If it was before, Chen Yuqian wouldn't have dared to challenge Yufeng. After all, Yufeng was a mystic class master, and he was only an early-phase golden class master. The difference between the two was like heaven and earth, but now it was different. Both of them were mystic class masters, and Chen Yuqian had more confidence in his words. Naturally, Lingshan, what's wrong with this colleague of yours? Why is he sticking his nose into other people's business? Yufeng really wanted to slap Yu Qian away, but for Lingshan's sake, he didn't do anything. He only scolded Yu Qian a little. I can ignore other people's business, but Lil Sis Lingshan's business, I have to. Yu Qian was pissed off by Yufeng's arrogant attitude. He stood up and looked at Yufeng coldly. Yufeng, is it? As a man, you need to have a backbone. She doesn't like you, and you're still following her around? What's the meaning of this? Do you think there's a point in doing this? Who do you think you are? Yufeng didn't think that this guy in front of him would call Lingshan Lil Sis and say that he had to stick his nose in other people's business, and even say that he needed to have a backbone and stop harassing her. Who did he think he was? How dare he yell in front of him? If it weren't for Lingshan, Yufeng would have punched him already. My name is Yu Qian. Yu Qian reached out his hand. I'm sure you've heard of my name. Ha! Yufeng looked at Yu Qian's hand, not intending to shake it at all. Instead, he started laughing. I was wondering who it was, so it's House Chen's little bastard. It's hard to say if your House Chen can keep its position in the Noble House meeting, and you still dare to show off. Early phase golden class? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know if you've leveled up recently. Perhaps you're already a peak early phase golden class now. Yufeng, watch your words. Is the heir of House Yu like you? Yu Qian retracted his hand. He was a little angry at Yu Feng's attitude. Chapter 14:13. I'll talk to different people. How do you expect me to talk to a fallen noble house? Yu Feng looked at Yu Qian with disdain. I'll be honest with you. If it weren't for your girl's engagement with an ancient sect, House Chen would have been removed from the noble house list a long time ago. But we don't even know if that engagement is real or fake. There's been no news for so long, I'm afraid it doesn't count anymore. Yu Qian's face turned ugly, but what Yufeng said was the truth. Of course, it was the past. Yu Qian indeed couldn't hold up the Chen house back then. He spent his time with Jiang Wen and the others having fun and being called one of the Song's Han young masters, but it was all too late. He'd missed the best age for practicing, seeing Lingshan step by step into the ranks of practitioners while Yu Qian was stuck at the same spot. He decided to go out and train going to the border and fighting with some smugglers and drug dealers, trying to ignite his potential. But because of his age, Yu Qian didn't make any progress until he met Instructor Eagle. It was a training, and it was said that the investigation department spent a lot of effort to invite Eagle to be their instructor. It was because of Eagle that Yu Qian found the path of practicing and became a golden class early phase. However, Even though he became a golden class master, he knew that he was still too weak. His current strength wasn't enough to support the entire house Chen. Many of the big boss's bodyguards were golden class masters, but Chen Yuqian had no other choice. He could only work hard and improve his cultivation at the same time. He understood that if it weren't for his sister's engagement, House Chen wouldn't be where it was today. But even Yu Qian himself didn't believe in this engagement, let alone others. After so many years without any news, Chen Yuqian even thought that Grandpa purposely set up a maze for House Chen's development. Otherwise, why would an ancient sect like his little sister, who was still in her infant years ago? It didn't make sense at all. Yufeng, don't go too far, Chen Yuqian said coldly. If we don't get along, then you can leave. I still have work to discuss with Lingshan sis. Drive me away? Right. I suddenly remembered a rumor, Chen Yuqian. Aren't you Lingshan's pursuer? You've been chasing after him for so many years, but you still haven't caught up. What's wrong? Are you afraid that I'll beat you to it? Yufeng humphed mockingly. But Yu Qian, let me tell you, Lingshan and I are engaged by our families. You can't. There's nothing for you to do here. Hurry up and scram. Don't force me to chase you away. First of all, this is an office I have work to discuss with Lingshan, Chen Yuqian said. Secondly, you should be the one to leave. You said it yourself, the marriage is arranged by the family, not by Lingshan herself. She doesn't like you, and she already has someone else in her heart. If you know what's good for you, you should just give up in case you get rejected. It'll be embarrassing. All right, I've said what I need to say. You can do as you please. Someone in her heart's... Yu Feng's face darkened. You're saying that the person she's in love with is you? It's not you. Yu Qian couldn't say Lin. E for Lingshan. Good. Very good. Yu Feng looked at Yu Qian, gritting his teeth, and nodding. Chen Yu Qian. So you're saying that you're going to stick your nose into this? Of course. Yu Qian said firmly. Whether it was for Lingshan or Lin E, he had to do something about it. Since they'd reached this point, he might as well settle it. Yu Feng sticking to Lingshan every day would be a problem. You think you're something, don't you? Yu Feng didn't expect Yu Qian to go against him. These days, Yu Feng felt like he was going to die. He'd lost all his face after being pushed around by Lin E, and he'd even let it out when he was angry. He'd even quit school, and he hadn't had a chance to vent his anger yet. Now that Yu Qian from House Chen was here, he didn't need to be polite anymore. I don't think so. I'm just trying to reason with you. I'm telling you how annoying you are right now, Yu Qian said. Good, very good. Chen Yu Qian, since you're like this, then don't blame me for being impolite. Today, I'll let you taste the consequences of sticking your nose in other people's business. With that, Yu Feng channeled his practitioner's arts and his qi surged out. He wasn't afraid of anything today. As far as he was concerned, it was Yu Qian who'd stuck his nose into other people's business. It was normal for him to teach Yu Qian a lesson. Plus, even if he beat Yu Qian up, what could House Chen do? They couldn't go to House Yu, could they? Would he dare? Mystic mid-phase. Yu Qian looked at Yu Feng. He didn't expect him to be a mystic mid-phase already. Humph, good that you know. Yu Feng smiled coldly. Chen Yu Qian, you're asking for it. Don't blame me for being impolite. Yu Feng, what are you doing? Lingshan didn't expect Yu Feng to channel his qi. She panicked. You want to fight? Fight? He doesn't deserve it. I'm just teaching him a lesson. Yu Feng said faintly. Teach me a lesson? Haha, do you think I'm still the Chen Yu Qian from before? With that, Yu Qian channeled his practitioner's arts, showing off his strength as a mystic early phase. Your mystic early phase? Yu Feng paused, surprised. Your mystic early phase? Ha! It's not just me, Lingshan is mystic early phase too. What's so great about being mystic mid-phase? Yu Qian said faintly. Lingshan is mystic early phase? How did you guys become mystic early phase? That's impossible. Yu Feng looked at Yu Qian in disbelief. That doesn't make sense. You were golden class early phase before, right? I heard that no matter how fast you level up, you can't be mystic early phase now. Lingshan was golden class late phase peak before, but she just broke through, right? How did she break through again? Humph, there's a lot of things you don't know. Yu Qian said proudly as he thought of Lin Yi. Lin Yi was really his lucky star. Ever since he met him, his luck kept on increasing, and his strength increased quite a bit. Chapter 14:14. Thinking of this possibility, Yu Feng's eyes turned red as he stared at Yu Qian hatefully. Answer me, yes or no? Yes or no? This has nothing to do with you, Yu Qian said. So what if I am? So what if I'm not? Yu Feng, I hope that you can face this matter. Since Lingshan doesn't agree, then let it go. Don't be too stubborn, we're both men. And I understand your feelings, but love is something that can't be forced. Yu Qian consoled Yu Feng out of good intentions, but thinking of his own situation, he felt like he was in the same boat as Yu Feng, so he said a few more words. But he didn't know that his words sounded like mockery in Yu Feng's ears. Yu Feng's breathing quickened, and his expression was as if he was going to eat Chen Yu Qian alive. Why, Chen Yu Qian, go die. With that, Yu Feng acted like a madman, striking out with both fists at Yu Qian's chest. Yu Qian didn't think that Yu Feng would attack him abruptly. There was no warning at all, and this shocked him. He shouted you and tried to dodge, but he was caught off guard and lost his chance. Plus, Yu Feng was a mid-phase mystic, while Yu Qian was just an early-phase mystic. He hadn't gotten used to his new strength yet. Naturally, he was weaker than Yu Feng by a huge margin. And so, Chen Yu Qian was sent flying by Yu Feng's attack without any hesitation. Bam! A loud crash sounded, and Yu Qian's body flew out of Lingshan's office window. Yu Feng, are you trying to kill me? Lingshan didn't expect Yu Feng to do this, and it was a vicious one at that. She saw that Yu Feng didn't hold back at all. And Yu Qian flew out of the window. How could he recover from falling from such a high floor? Although mystic class masters could walk on walls and wouldn't be harmed no matter how high they jumped from, that was only when they used their qi to protect themselves. How could Chen Yu Qian use his qi to protect himself in a situation like this? Yu Feng didn't expect that he would be able to send Yu Qian flying out of the window. He wanted to teach Chen Yu Qian a lesson, but he didn't want to kill him. After all, Chen Yu Qian was the heir of House Qin. Killing him would put House Yu in a passive position. Teaching them a lesson was normal, but killing them would make House Yu look like a tyrant. If the other noble houses formed an alliance to fight against House Yu, it'd be a huge problem. He's a profound rank Gao Yi so. Plus, I wasn't trying to kill him. It was just an accident. Yu Feng pretended to be calm. After speaking, Yu Feng didn't linger and turned around to leave. Wait, you want to leave after hurting someone? Lingshan didn't love Yu Qian, but the two were friends now. Yu Qian was injured by Yu Feng, so how could she just let it go? Although she had no control over the conflicts between the aristocratic families, but to avenge her friend, she was duty-bound. It really is the early phase of the mystic class. Yu Feng's expression froze as a trace of anger flashed across his eyes. Are you going to avenge your lover? Lingshan didn't say anything as she channeled House Song's practitioner's arts, preparing to make Yu Feng stay. Humph. Yu Feng humphed coldly. In the end, he didn't make a move against Lingshan. Instead, he quickly left the office. Lingshan couldn't stop him if he wanted to run. Looking at Yu Feng's back, Lingshan was troubled, but there was nothing she could do. This matter could only be resolved in the noble house meeting. Noble houses had their own rules, and their conflicts had to be resolved in the noble house meeting. The secret investigation department could also mediate conflicts, but that was all they could do. This was also why Gong Gao didn't give Feng Tianlong any face back then. But the noble house meeting was hosted by House Yu, and Lingshan felt that there was little hope of reporting House Yu during the noble house meeting. Lingshan didn't chase after Yu Feng. She knew that she couldn't catch up. Mystic early phase and mystic mid phase were 2 ranks apart, and they weren't even on the same level. She rushed downstairs, and there were already many people surrounding Yutian. Many of them knew him, since he often went on missions with the police. Lingshan rushed over and saw Yutian covered in blood. "Yutian bro, how are you?" Lingshan panicked at the sight of his pitiful state. Even someone as strong as Lingshan felt the urge to cry. Yutian was simply too pitiful. His chest was covered in blood, and both his legs were fractured, exposing his white bones. It was a frightening sight. "I'm fine." Yutian smiled bitterly and said weakly, "I can still hold on." Chun Yutian showed his strong side at this moment. He was a real man. "Wait here, I'll call the ambulance," Lingshan said as she took out her phone to call the emergency center. "Captain Song, we've already called the emergency center," one of Lingshan's colleagues said. "Ah, okay. Thank you," Lingshan said quickly. A lot of people wanted to know who hurt Yutian like this, but seeing Lingshan's sad face, they didn't ask. They wanted to wait for Yutian to go to the hospital first. Chun Yutian knew that his injuries weren't life-threatening, but he knew that he had internal injuries. Most of the meridians in his body were broken by Yufeng, especially when he fell from the building. Even if he recovered, the meridians in his legs wouldn't be able to recover. It would be hard for him to break through in the future, and even if he could cultivate, he wouldn't be able to maintain his mystic class early phase anymore. But Yutian didn't regret it. He didn't want to be a coward. He had to talk to Yufeng about this. And this time, Yufeng had hit him. The marriage between him and Lingshan would probably be canceled as well. House Yu would be in the wrong, and they wouldn't continue this. But what would happen to House Chin? What would they do in the future? An ambulance siren sounded, and Chun Yutian was carried into the ambulance. At this moment, Chun Yutian's consciousness started to blur. House Chen's future and his dreams were intertwined, and it made Yutian feel sad and lost. He was supposed to be a mystic early phase with a bright future, but now he was crippled. Would his grandpa be sad if he knew about this? Chapter 14:15. This morning, Chun Yutian had just told his grandpa the good news, telling him that he had reached the early phase of mystic class. His grandpa was so happy that his voice changed, but in the blink of an eye, he became a cripple again. How was he going to tell his grandpa? Chun Yutian closed his eyes slowly and fainted after thinking about these troublesome things. Yufeng didn't leave immediately. He stood not far from the police station and watched Chun Yutian get carried into the ambulance. He let out a sigh of relief. It seemed like Chun Yutian didn't die, but he was heavily injured. This was what Yufeng wanted to see. If Chun Yutian died, then House Yu would be in a passive position, although House Yu was domineering. As the host of the noble house meeting, they had power that other noble houses didn't have. But if they attacked other noble houses recklessly, then no matter how strong House Yu was, they wouldn't be able to withstand the retaliation of other noble houses. But now, there was no problem. As long as Chun Yutian didn't die, everything would be fine. Even if they brought this up in the noble house meeting, it would be a battle between the younger generation. If you were injured because you weren't strong enough, who could you blame? So, Yufeng's responsibility was much smaller. Although House Chin was angry they couldn't do anything to House Yu, if you're so capable, come and get revenge. This was the rule of the noble houses. If you're not satisfied, then fine. You can challenge any of your enemies in the noble house meeting. Besides, the challenge in the noble house meeting didn't care about life and death. If you're capable, you can kill your opponent, but on the other hand, your opponent can kill you too. This was the same as signing a life and death contract in the arena. The host of the meeting wouldn't favor either side. If you're capable, you can solve it yourselves. After you're done, you can sit down and have a meeting. But as the saying goes, every debt has its debtor. Whoever has the grudge, they can't ask for outside help. In other words, if the Chun family was bullied, then if you wanted to get back at them, it had to be someone from the Chun family. If you were a disciple of the Chun family or a relative, that was fine. But if you found outside help, It was absolutely impossible. In fact, this rule was to restrict House Yu. House Yu and the hidden House Yu had an unclear relationship. If House Yu asked for help from the hidden House Yu, then what would the others do? He could only wait for death to come. Of course, while House Yu and the hidden House Yu could be considered relatives, it wasn't a relationship that could be made public. This involved the Hidden Houses Arbitration Association, and if the Hidden House Yu wanted to earn money, they couldn't openly admit their relationship with the Common House Yu. Otherwise, once they did, the Common House Yu would have to join the Hidden House Yu, unable to earn money in the common world. So with this rule, House Yu couldn't go to the Hidden House Yu to solve their conflict. When this rule was first made, House Yu wasn't too happy about it, but now Yufeng saw it as the best. It was impossible for Chun Yutian to get back at the Noble House meeting. Chun Yutian was the only cultivator in House Chen, and he was a cripple now. Challenging the Noble House was the same as seeking death. Yufeng wasn't afraid of him. Chun Yutian, how dare you steal my woman? Why don't you take a look at who you are? What's so great about being a mystic class master? I'm already a mystic mid-phase. Crippling you is as easy as breaking a grasshopper's leg. Yufeng said coldly as he watched the ambulance leave. But Yufeng wasn't stupid. This incident didn't affect House Yu much, but he still had to report it to his father. Hello? Xiaofeng, what's the matter? Shueixing was practicing when his personal phone rang. Only Yufeng and Boss Yu knew about this phone, and Shueixing didn't tell anyone else. This was an emergency phone, and unless something big happened, it wouldn't call. Father, I beat Qin Yuqian up. Yufeng didn't bother with small talk and told his father what had happened. What? Shueixing froze. Qin Yuqian? Heavily injured? Shueixing had just woken up from his practicing state and didn't know how to react. It's Qin Yuqian from House Qin. I beat him up and he's probably crippled now. He won't be able to practice for the rest of his life, and even if he recovers, it'll be hard for him to progress. Yufeng explained. Qin Yuqian from House Qin? Why did you beat him up? House Yu doesn't care about a mere House Qin, and Qin Yuqian is just a golden class. He doesn't conflict with our interests at all, and now that the Noble House meeting is about to start, why are you still messing with House Qin? Aren't you just causing trouble? Shueixing's tone was displeased. Feng, why are you so impulsive? What's going on? Father, Qin Yuqian isn't a golden class. He's a mystic early phase. Yufeng said, and so is Lingshan. What? They're both mystic? How is that possible? Shueixing paused, not bothering about Yufeng hurting Qin Yuqian anymore. All his attention was on the two becoming mystic. I don't know, but I suspect that they're dual practicing together. Yufeng couldn't help but grit his teeth as he spoke. Dual practicing? You're saying that Lingshan and Qin Yuqian are dual practicing together? Shueixing vaguely sensed something, as if he could guess why his son was so angry, hurting Qin Yuqian in a fit of rage. That's right. Yufeng nodded. It's like this. Lingshan just came back from a mission, and I bought some food to go to her office to celebrate her safe return, but I didn't think I'd see Qin Yuqian in her office. Yufeng told Shueixing everything that happened after that, not adding anything to the story. He didn't think that he'd done anything wrong, and anyone else in his position wouldn't let this go so easily. After all, Lingshan was Yufeng's fiancée in name. And now that someone else had gotten to her first, he'd be a coward if he didn't do something about it. I see. Shueixing understood his son's feelings after hearing the explanation, so that means that Lingshan hooked up with Qin Yuqian first? Humph. If that's the case, then you can't blame House Yu. Chapter 14:16. And it's good to let him live, Shueixing nodded. That way, House Qin can't say anything bad about me. We're all in the wrong here. Plus, if House Qin wants revenge, they can bring it up at the Noble House meeting any time they want. Someone in their family will be sad, and I'll accept it, but I don't think they'll be able to cause trouble for me anymore. Yufeng continued. Oh. Shueixing had a flash of inspiration. That's right, Yufeng. You did a good job. Haha, now that I think about it, this is a good chance for House Yu. Not only will it not affect us, but it'll also make people think that we've lost big time. What do you mean? Yufeng paused. During the Noble House meeting, I'm planning to cause trouble for House Chun and House Song, pushing all the blame onto them. They were engaged to House Yu to begin with, so why would they still be with House Chun? There's something wrong with House Chen's scion. Hooking up with someone else's fiancé? They'll definitely be accused of not being strict. And this way, you've hurt Chen Yuqian, which means that you've hurt the adulterer. You're Ling Shan's fiancé, and catching the adulterer is the right thing to do. House Chen won't be able to say anything about this. And they'll even have to apologize to us. Haha, father, you've thought things through. This way, the Chen clan can only suffer in silence. Hearing this, Yufeng relaxed a little. He was overjoyed. That's right, plus, you've killed a mystic from House Chen before he could grow. This is a huge contribution as well. If House Chen has a mystic, it'll be a threat to House Yu's position, Xu Weixing said. But the Noble House meeting is around the corner, so you shouldn't stay in Songshan anymore. Go back to Yanjing immediately and don't go out these few days. We're not afraid of them in the open, but we're afraid that House Chen will go crazy and hire people to cause trouble for you. Don't fail miserably. All right, I'll go back now. Yufeng nodded, suddenly remembering that Yu Qian's sister seemed to be quite close with Lin Yi. If this chick were to bewitch Lin Yi to cause trouble for him, then it would really be troublesome. After the meeting, Yufeng wasn't afraid of anything because the meeting was a place to resolve conflicts. The conflicts between the aristocratic families would be resolved during the meeting. If they didn't resolve it, it would be the same as giving up. There was no such thing as fighting to the death. If one of the aristocratic families brought up their past hatred after the meeting, it would be the same as violating the agreement of the meeting. Not only would they be viewed as enemies by all the aristocratic families, they would also be expelled from the ranks of the aristocratic families. Therefore, nobody would do such a thing. Yufeng boarded the flight to Yanjing, and in the hospital, Chen Yuqian was just pushed out of the emergency room. The wounds on his body and leg were all bandaged up, and he woke up as well. As a practitioner, his willpower wasn't something ordinary people could compare to. Brother Yuqian, what do you think? Ling Shan was anxiously waiting at the door of the surgery room. She went up to Yuqian as soon as he came out. Ling Shan, I'm fine. Yuqian saw how worried Ling Shan was. He felt a little touched, but also a little bitter. He knew that Ling Shan cared for him as a friend, but there were no other emotions involved. Yuqian bro, you didn't have to do that. Ling Shan sighed. Yuqian said that he was fine, but looking at his bitter smile, Ling Shan knew that it wasn't a light injury. He was a spiritual practitioner, and if his meridians were injured, it would be the same as crippling his path of practicing. He wouldn't be able to progress any further on the path of practicing. Even if Chen Yuqian recovered, he wouldn't be able to maintain his strength anymore. It was already a miracle that he was able to stay at the golden class. It was almost impossible for him to break through to the mystic class, unless he had the legendary meridian opening pellet. However, that was something only the hidden houses had. Normal houses didn't have it. Ling Shan, I've been a man for once. Yuqian couldn't help but say proudly, although I'm injured, I'm afraid that Yufeng won't bother you anymore. It's worth it. Thank you, Ling Shan murmured. Yuqian bro, you're a good person, but you can't force feelings. Logically speaking, Yuqian had done so much for her, and Ling Shan had to do something for him. But Ling Shan really didn't have any feelings for Yuqian. She decided to make it up to him in other ways. Ha, I know. Yuqian interrupted Ling Shan. He knew that Ling Shan was giving him a good person card, but Yuqian didn't dwell on it anymore. Ling Shan, let's not talk about that. Lin Yi is my friend, and you could say that he's my master. My strength comes from him, and it doesn't matter if I lose him. Even if I'm only golden class after I recover, it's still not bad. Yuqian wasn't worried about himself, but House Chun, he was injured so badly this time, and House Chun was probably done for. But House Chen, Grandpa Chen, Ling Shan was conflicted. Yu Qian didn't say it, but she knew that House Chen would be done for in the future. They would be removed from the list of noble houses. The only way was for House Song and House Chen to unite through marriage. That was the only way to keep House Chen's position, but Ling Shan really couldn't accept that. Sigh, that's the only thing I'm worried about. Disappointment flashed across Yu Qian's eyes. I wonder how sad Grandpa will be when he finds out about me. I told him that I advanced to the early phase of mystic class, and he laughed for 3 whole minutes. Other than the meridian opening pill, is there any other way to recover your strength? Ling Shan made up her mind. If there was, no matter what price she had to pay, she would find a way to help Yu Qian recover his strength. Chapter 14:17. Yu Qian bro, don't worry, I'll go find House Sun. I heard that Sun Jingyi is in Songshan. I'll try with her. Ling Shan had made up her mind. No matter what, she had to convince Sun Jingyi to heal Yu Qian. Oh, okay, but don't force yourself if it doesn't work, Yu Qian said. Ling Shan, I want to rest for a while. All right, I'll be heading out first then. Ling Shan nodded, not wanting to disturb Yu Qian anymore, and turned to leave. Yu Qian, on the other hand, took out his phone and called his grandpa after Ling Shan left. Yu Qian, why are you calling Grandpa again? Did you break through again? Old Master Chen couldn't help but be happy these few days. It was really like the saying, he would smile even in his dreams. Yu Qian broke through to the early phase of mystic class, and House Chen had hope. They didn't need that ancient sex marriage to maintain their position anymore. And so, Grandpa Chen joked with Yu Qian. Naturally, he knew that Yu Qian wouldn't be able to break through again in such a short period of time, but joking wasn't a big deal. Hearing his grandpa's words, Yu Qian's heart ached, and he almost cried out loud. He didn't know what to say, and he didn't want to ruin his grandpa's good mood. His grandpa's mind was probably filled with the beautiful future of House Chen. Grandpa Chen paused when he didn't hear anything from Yu Qian. Yu Qian, what's wrong? Grandpa, Yu Qian's words were stuck in his throat like a fishbone, and he couldn't speak. Yu Qian, what's wrong? Don't scare Grandpa Chen sensed that something was wrong with Yu Qian's tone, and quickly asked, Grandpa, I lost my strength. I'm injured, and my meridians are broken. Yu Qian gritted his teeth and said in one breath, I'm lying in the hospital now, and both my legs are broken. What? Hearing Yu Qian's words, Grandpa Chen jumped up from his chair in shock. He almost threw the phone in his hand. However, after he stood up, he felt dizzy as if he had been struck by lightning. He couldn't even stand straight and fell back onto the chair. Yu Qian, what did you say? You were injured? Who hurt you? How could he be so vicious? Grandpa Chen was someone who had been through a lot. Although he was shocked, he wasn't at a loss. He had to figure out the whole story. Grandpa, calm down. Yu Qian sighed. It's like this. Yu Qian told Old Chen everything, not hiding anything. Old Chen knew about his feelings for Ling Shan, so it wasn't strange for him to do something like this. You're saying that you did this for Ling Shan and Lin Yi, right? Old Chen sighed after hearing Yu Qian's words. Logically speaking, what you did was right. A man should do what he shouldn't. And Lin Yi helped you improve your strength. Helping him out is what you should do, but you should know that you should do what you can. You were too impulsive. Elder Chen didn't blame Chen Yu Qian too much after knowing the whole story. After all, there was nothing wrong with what he did. However, the consequences of his actions were too huge. Chen Yu Qian was originally House Chen's hope, but now his hope was completely destroyed. And he even started a feud with House Yu. With Old Chen's wisdom, it wasn't hard to guess Shuixing's reaction. Shuixing would probably bite back at him. Old Chen knew about Ling Shan and Yu Feng's engagement as well. He'd called Yu Qian back then, but Yu Qian had already given up, so he didn't ask much. What he didn't know was that there was more to it than meets the eye. Ling Shan liked Lin Lin Yi's name wasn't unfamiliar to old Chen. When Lin Yi first entered House Chu's villa and became Miss Chu's bodyguard, old Chen knew about Lin Yi's existence. But Lin Yi wasn't enough to enter old Chen's eyes, so he didn't pay much attention to a bodyguard like Lin Yi until Lin Yi became more and more conspicuous. He attacked House Yu, House Xiao, and even offended the Xiao family, the Golden Clock sect, and the Hidden House Pie. It could be said that he'd offended all the powers he could afford to offend, and Elder Chen's scalp was going numb just by looking at it. Offending just one of them would be enough to get him into trouble, let alone all of them. But not only did Lin Yi not get into trouble, he was living a better life than anyone else, better than anyone else, better than any of them. Old Man Chen was puzzled. How could this person be fine after offending so many forces? It didn't make sense. On the other hand, the forces that Lin Yi offended all quieted down and disappeared. Until recently, 2 masters from the Hidden House Pie died, and the Earth class of the Golden Clock sect was killed by Lin Yi's follower. Old Chen was shocked. So Lin Yi was this strong. He was just a small bodyguard, someone like a follower. Old Chen didn't put him in his eyes, but he realized that he was blind. He didn't expect Pengzhan to be able to invite such a strong person. It was unbelievable. Although Yu Qian didn't say how Lin Yi increased his strength, no matter how he did it, this ability was even more shocking. While Old Chen was shocked, he started guessing Lin Yi's background. Could this Lin Yi be from an ancient sect? But even if it was an ancient sect, he had never heard of anyone who could increase someone's strength so quickly. Lin Yi was only a mystic mid-phase peak, but he could turn someone into an early-phase mystic class, and 2 at once. This was shocking. However, it had nothing to do with old Chen. No matter how strong Lin Yi was, he wasn't a part of House Chen. He only cared about Yu Qian and House Chen's future. Grandpa, I'm sorry. Yu Qian knew his grandpa's pain. Wasn't he in pain as well? But what had happened couldn't be changed. Chapter 14:18. Grandpa, there's something I don't know if I should say, Chun Yu Qian said after a moment of silence. House Chen was on the brink of life and death. There were some words that Chun Yu Qian had to say. Otherwise, House Chen would be finished. What is it, Yu Qian? What else can't you say? Grandpa Chen sighed. It's not impossible for House Chen to grow and advance further, Chun Yu Qian said. The key is if we dare to take the gamble. What hope? Grandpa Chen heard Chun Yu Qian's words as if he had found a life-saving straw. He was energized and asked quickly, Let Shu marry Lin Yi. Chun Yu Qian said, I can see that Shu likes Lin Yi, and Lin Yi treats Shu well, at least better than Lingshan. Although it's a bit unfair to Lingshan, she doesn't care how many girlfriends Lin Yi has. She's from a noble house, so it shouldn't be a problem. What? Grandpa Chen froze. Let Shu marry Lin Yi? That can't be done. Why? Chun Yu Qian froze and said hurriedly, with Lin Yi joining our house, we can stand firm in the noble house meeting. Even House, you can't do anything to us. Besides, Lin Yi can give Shu and even you to the early phase of mystic class. This way, House Chen can stand firm, and there's no difference between having a cripple like me or not. Yu Qian, you should know about Shu's engagement, right? Old Man Chen sighed. I know that your idea is a good one, but how would our Chen family dare to break our agreement with an ancient sect? I know a little about it, but it's been so long, so many years, and there's no news. Is the engagement still valid? Chun Yu Qian didn't expect his grandpa to be so resolute. If that ancient sect really wants to marry Shu, it can't be that there's no news about it after so many years, right? Besides, Shu is already 18 years old, and no one has come to propose. It's most likely impossible. Sigh, who knows? The ancient sect's way of doing things isn't something normal houses like us can guess. Although there's no news for so many years, I'm afraid that if we break the engagement and marry Shu to someone else, we won't be able to handle the wrath of the ancient sect. If they really come for revenge, wouldn't we be harming Shu? Grandpa Chen smiled bitterly. It's not that we can't do it. We just don't dare to. Chun Yuqian was silent after listening to his grandpa's words. He didn't expect the ancient sect's marriage contract to be so restrictive. It was like a curse. He couldn't get rid of it no matter what. We can't contact them? Chun Yuqian asked. I can't contact them. Back then, they only left behind the marriage contract and left. All these years, they haven't come back again. Grandpa Chun said, helplessly, what you said really can't be done. We can't take the risk. But Chun Yuqian thought of Shu and felt pity. Shu might not like this engagement. There are some things that we can't decide. Grandpa Chun said. All right, Grandpa, I'm sorry for the trouble I caused you. Yuqian could only say that. That's all. It's nothing. Rest well, let Grandpa think about it. Think about the future of House Chun after this meeting. Grandpa Chun didn't have the heart to scold Yuqian anymore, so he comforted him. Okay, Grandpa. Chun Yuqian was sleepy and wanted to sleep. After sleeping, he would forget all his troubles. After Yufeng returned to House Yu, the invitations were sent from House Yu to the other 8 noble houses. These 8 noble houses were House Song, House Chen, House Sun, House Wu, House Lu, Xiao family, House An, and House Yang. One of the purposes of this meeting was to resolve the conflicts between the noble houses, and the other was to rearrange the ranking of the 4 great houses and 5 small houses. Of course, there was a possibility that some house would be kicked out because they were too weak, and there was also a possibility that a stronger house would be supported and become one of the new noble houses. The noble houses that received the invitations were happy, and some were sad. Old Song was a little worried because of the marriage between Lingshan and Yufeng, but he wasn't too worried. After all, House Song still had a mystic late phase peak who was roaming the outside world. It was true that there was no news, but no one dared to underestimate House Song until there was news of her death. Plus, Lingshan had reached mystic early phase. Even without the marriage with House Yu, they wouldn't be kicked out of the noble house list. House Sun, House Yang, and House An, on the other hand, were very calm. These noble houses didn't want to stand out, but they wouldn't be kicked out of the noble house either. It was the same every meeting. There was no suspense. As for the Xiao family, their worries disappeared after getting the support of the hidden house Pai. Among the noble houses, the one with the most confidence was the Xiao family. Even if 2 house Pai masters died, House Pai would send their own masters over. To the Xiao family, there was no loss at all. House Lu seemed to have realized the danger of this meeting as well. In the study of the head of House Lu, Lu Xinhu stood the 2 brothers Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli. Behind Lu Xinhu stood the little brain of House Lu Jinghan. The noble house meeting is about to start. What do you guys think? Lu Xinhu put the invitation on the table and raised his head. Our House Lu, do we have any hope of staying in the noble house meeting? I heard that House Yu wants to make House Kong the new noble house. From the looks of it, House Lu isn't in any danger. We've already become the exclusive distributor of the injury medicine and the painkiller that's about to hit the market. The resources and channels we have aren't something House Kong can compare to. House Lu shouldn't have any problems. Lu Tianyi said. Xinhu nodded. Tianli, what do you think? Chapter 14:19. As the saying goes, good news doesn't go out, but bad news travels 1,000 miles. House Chen's Chun Yuqian tried to steal House Yu's woman and got beaten up by Yufeng. This news spread like wildfire. And now everyone knew that Chun Yuqian seduced Yu's fiancée and got beaten up. Hence, Chun Yuqian was the weak one, but no one sympathized with him. They felt that he deserved it. This was House Yu's way of doing things. They pushed all the responsibility away and made it seem like Chun Yuqian was the one who deserved it. House Wu, on the other hand, was one of the weakest of the noble houses. All of them were physical practitioners, and the strongest one was only mystic mid-phase, and he had just broken through not too long ago. Especially recently, they heard that Wu Qintian had offended the Xiao family's brothers. This time, as the rising star of the noble house, the Xiao family would definitely accuse House Wu. Jing, what do you think? Xinhu didn't comment on Lu Tianyi and Lu Qianli's words, but looked at Lu Jinghan. Grandpa, I think that this time, House Lu is in the most danger, Lu Jinghan said after a moment of silence. Most danger, Lu Qianli, and even Lu Tianyi froze, not expecting Lu Jinghan to say that. Why would you say that? Tell me the reason. Xinhu nodded but didn't make any comments. His expression was as calm as ever, without a single ripple of emotion. When it came to House Lu, Xinhu was quite the character. He was a wise old man, always able to grasp the crux of a problem and find a way to solve it. No wonder House Lu was so happy when Xinhu found out that he had 10 more years to live. Otherwise, the two brothers, Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli, wouldn't be able to support the whole House Lu. Lu Tianyi was calm and had a broad vision, but he wasn't smart enough. Tianli, on the other hand, was short-sighted. In business, it was easy to keep the business, but it was hard to advance. The only thing that made Lu Xinhu happy was this granddaughter, but the only regret was that Lu Jinghan was only a granddaughter, not a grandson. Lu Tianyi's son was still too young, he hadn't grown up yet. He hoped that he could be like Lu Jinghan in the future. Lu Xinhu would be comforted in his old age. I have a feeling that the clan's conference this time will not be peaceful, Lu Jinghan said calmly. Although the Qin family seems to have reached the point of no return, the Qin family has 2 life-saving trump cards to choose from. Oh, Lu Tianyi and Lu Qianli were both taken aback. They didn't expect House Qin to have 2 trump cards. Wasn't this a little too much? The first one is the ancient sex marriage contract. We all know about this. And although it looks like it doesn't exist anymore, the truth is that the ancient sex didn't say anything about canceling the contract, so it's still valid. Lu Jinghan said. Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli suddenly remembered that House Qin still had this life-saving trump card. Yes, in the ancient sex, before the marriage contract was canceled, House Qin was still an in-law of the ancient sex. Just how powerful was the ancient sex? Even the hidden houses didn't dare do anything to them, let alone the normal houses. If House Yu really did demote House Qin and kick them out of the noble house ranks, and the ancient sex came looking for trouble after that, then things would be really bad. The second one is Lin Yi, Lu Jinghan continued. This is also the trump card that I think is most likely. Lin Yi, and House Qin. Lu Tianyi paused. Yes. House Qin's granddaughter, Yushu, is Mingyao's best friend, and she seems to have a good relationship with Lin. Lin Yi's protectiveness is known to the world, and anyone who dares to touch the people around Lin Yi will either die or be crippled. Not just House Yu, even the hidden house Pai, and House Xiao won't give them any face. Lu Jinghan said, if Lin Yi really intervenes in this matter, then the Qin family will probably be safe. Lin Yi, yes, if Lin Yi interferes, then this would be much easier. Lu Tianyi nodded. What Jingjing means is that Lin might interfere with House Chen's business. It's not a possibility. If Yushu says it, then it's 100%. Lu Jinghan said, as far as I know, the relationship between Yushu and Lin Yi is unbelievably good. Then House Wu, right? I get it. It's still Lin Yi. Lu Tianyi thought through some things after Lu Jinghan's words. I heard that Wu Qintian took Lin Yi's follower as his boss. So naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't ignore House Wu's business. That's right. So the most dangerous one right now is us, House Lu. Fortunately, House Kong is on the verge of collapsing, and they've become enemies with the Xiao family. If House Kong wants to become a noble house, then the Xiao family will be the first to object. House Yu wouldn't offend the Xiao family that has the hidden house Pai support, so House Kong isn't a big threat to us. Lu Jinghan said, but we can't let our guard down. Who knows if House Yu will play some tricks? Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli nodded in agreement. Xinhu, on the other hand, spoke up as well. Do you all understand? Just do what you're supposed to do. Theoretically speaking, House Lu shouldn't be in any danger, but there are still unknowns. Still, Jing said that if Lin Yi really were to interfere with House Wu and House Chen's business, he might also interfere with House Lu's business. Recently, under Jing's suggestion, our relationship with Lin Yi is in the honeymoon stage. We understand. Lu Tianyi and Lu Tianli nodded. Now, only Elder Chen's face was a little gloomy. The noble house meeting this time was probably going to be a disaster. What should they do? But no matter what, they had to go. If they didn't go, wouldn't that mean that they were giving up on the title of a noble house? Wouldn't that be what House Yu wanted? As for Yu Qian's suggestion, Elder Chen was actually quite tempted. Letting Yushu and Lin Yi marry each other would naturally solve the crisis House Chen was in. With Lin Yi's current strength, even if House Yu was furious, they wouldn't be able to do anything to him. But the main problem now was the ancient sect. He didn't dare break off the ancient sect's engagement. Once he made the decision and betrothed Yushu to someone else, the ancient sect, he wouldn't be the only one to be blamed. Yushu would as well. Chapter 14:20. After coming out of the tomb, Elder Yu rushed back to Songshan City without stopping, running faster than a rabbit. It wasn't that he was afraid that Lin Yi would come after him for the qi-gathering pill, but he realized that he was poisoned. When he was at the entrance of the tomb, Elder Yu didn't care about the arrows, but after coming out of the tomb, he felt dizzy and had red spots all over his body. With Elder Yu's experience, he knew that he was poisoned. But at first, Elder Yu didn't care and took an antidote pill. This was a medicine unique to the hidden houses, and it could cure most poisons, so he thought that he would be fine after taking it. But at night, Elder Yu realized that the red spots on his body were increasing, and not only did he feel dizzy, but he also felt nauseous. It was even more serious than before. Only then did Elder Yu realize that something wasn't right. He regretted attacking the male thief. If he didn't underestimate the strength of the male thief and his companions, he wouldn't be in this situation right now. He wouldn't have been hit by the poison arrow if he was with the male thief. After realizing that the antidote didn't work, Elder Yu didn't dare stay any longer. He quickly went back to Songshan and found a hotel to rest in before calling the hidden house Yu's housekeeper, who was in charge of contacting him. "Housekeeper Yu, I'm Yu Huixing," Elder Yu said respectfully. "Oh, Yu Huixing, did you finish your mission? Did you come out of the tomb? Did you get anything?" Housekeeper Yu asked. Elder Yu was disappointed. He had risked his life and almost died. Yet the hidden house Yu didn't care about his safety, but what they wanted was what they wanted. When he called, they didn't even ask about his safety, only asking if he got anything. The tomb was too dangerous, and I was poisoned. I'm back in Songshan now, and the antidote pill doesn't work. I can't hold on much longer. Housekeeper Yu, please send a medical expert to cure me." Elder Yu was a bit pissed, and he didn't say that he got the qi-gathering pill, only saying that he was poisoned. "Poisoned? What happened to you? How could you be so careless?" Butler Rain was stunned. "Does that mean you didn't complete the mission? I told you, the ancient tomb is very dangerous. Those who raided the tomb with me are basically all dead." Elder Yu was even more bitterly disappointed. It seemed like the hidden house Yu didn't even treat him, an outsider, as a member of the family. He was ordered around like a dog. "I see." Steward Yu was a little disappointed. He didn't think much of Elder Yu's ability. It's impossible for the hidden house Yu to send people to save you. Other than you being a new member of the hidden house Yu, it's not very obvious. Everyone else is recorded by the Noble House Arbitration Association. If someone were to go to the common world, they'd definitely be watched by the association. If they find out about you, we won't be able to bear the consequences. Housekeeper Yu, are you saying that you're going to give up on me? Elder Yu was getting annoyed. wasn't this hidden house you a little too cruel? He was about to die trying to hide house you, and they were making excuses? You wishing, of course, that's not what I meant. Steward Yu sensed Elder Yu's displeasure and quickly explained. You understand the difficulties of the hidden houses. How about this? In Songshan, there's a miracle doctor, the Yao Wang of the hidden house Xiao. We, the hidden house Yu, are related to the hidden house Xiao by marriage. I'll arrange it for you. You go find him to cure the poison. Of course, he might charge you some medical fees, but there's nothing we can do about it. Just give it to them. Steward Yu knew Yao Wang's personality. This person was extremely evil. How could he not charge for medical fees? Of course, if House Yu and House Xiao negotiated directly, they might waive the medical fees, but House Yu would inevitably owe House Xiao a favor. Steward Yu didn't want to owe House Xiao a favor because of Yu wishing. It wasn't worth it. I understand. Elder Yu's heart was extremely troubled. He hung up the phone and took a deep breath, letting it out. He didn't want to explode. Thinking of the common House Yu, Elder Yu could only hold it in. Without the support of the hidden House Yu, the common House Yu would soon fall. Soon, Steward Yu sent him a text with Yao Wang's address. He told Yu wishing that he had already contacted Yao Wang, and that Elder Yu could go there directly. Elder Yu had no choice but to drag his sick body to the address on the message and head to the floating cloud bar. Fortunately, he was an Earth-class early-phase master. If it were a normal person, they would be lying on the bed, unable to move, waiting for death after getting poisoned. But even so, Elder Yu almost fainted when he got to the floating cloud bar. This must be Yu wishing. Elder Yu. Qibing got the news from House Xiao that Yu wishing was coming to cure the poison, and he was extremely excited. He had Sihua push his wheelchair outside the bar, waiting for Yu wishing's arrival. This was a big client, the head of the common House Yu. How could Qibing let go of such a good opportunity to earn money? Qibing had been very unlucky recently. He wanted to do something that would make his grandpa look at him differently, but now that Elder Yu was here, he was going to make a killing. Everyone knew that the common House Yu was rich, and Qibing came to Songshan to earn money, just like House Yu did. The only difference was that House Yu kept earning money, and Qibing kept losing money. How could Qibing be satisfied with this? In the eyes of the jealous Qibing, Yu wishing was a treasure bowl. The common world house, Yu wouldn't let him die. And now that he'd come to them, it wouldn't be Qibing's style if he didn't spend a lot of money on him. That's me. Elder Yu said weakly, may I ask if you are young Master Zhao? Is Yao Wang here? I'm poisoned, and I'm here to ask Yao Wang to cure me. Facing Qibing, Elder Yu didn't dare to be careless. Although Elder Yu was a member of the hidden House Yu, he was just a dog of the hidden House Yu. Qibing, on the other hand, was a true disciple of House Xiao. Although he was an illegitimate child, his position was still much higher than Elder Yu's. Yao Wang, of course. Elder Yu, please come in. Let Yao Wang treat you. Qibing smiled as he waved his hand, and Sihua and Jianong helped Elder Yu into the back room of the floating cloud bar. Chapter 14:21. Elder Yu saw that Yao Wang's body was covered with lightning rods, and he was a little surprised. But he was here to cure his illness, and he couldn't ask too much about this mysterious phenomenon. After all, masters always did things that people couldn't understand. Perhaps this was Yao Wang's way of training. Yao Wang and Zhao Qibing were a match made in heaven. Both of them had evil hearts. In fact, Yao Wang knew that Elder Yu was poisoned the moment he felt his pulse. This poison was strong, but it wasn't a problem for Yao Wang. Lin Yi could easily deal with this poison. So, Yao Wang didn't feel any pressure. In terms of medical skills, Yao Wang wasn't any weaker than Lin Yi. The difference was that one was researching on saving people, and the other was researching on harming people and making money. This poison is very strong. It's a 1,000-year-old poison. Yao Wang let go of Elder Yu's wrist, his brows furrowed. This poison, it's not a normal poison. It's a poison that's been lost for a long time. I've only seen it in some ancient texts. Now, your pulse matches the poison mentioned in the ancient texts. Then, what should I do? Elder Yu jumped in fright. He'd heard of Yao Wang's name before. To be able to become one of the head doctors of the hidden house Zhao, he definitely wasn't a simple character. If he said that this poison was very strong, then wouldn't it mean that he could die easily? Thinking about this, Elder Yu was extremely depressed. He went to the tomb and almost lost his life, but the hidden house Yu treated him coldly. It really pissed him off. It's not that there's no way. Coincidentally, when I saw this 1,000-year-old poison, I also saw the antidote. Elder Yu, you're lucky to have met me. If it were someone else, you'd just be waiting for death. Yao Wang came from a hidden house, and he had quite a high position in the hidden house Zhao, so he didn't have to be too polite when talking to Elder Yu. Yao Wang, please save me. This old man will reward you handsomely. Elder Yu's face turned red upon hearing that there was hope. He quickly cupped his fists and begged. Of course, you don't have to thank me. You're from House Yu, and I'm from House Zhao. Our families are in-laws, so, of course, I won't refuse. Yao Wang said righteously, if that's the case, thank you. Elder Yu quickly said. However, the Medicine King changed the topic and said, this poison is extremely overbearing. The medicinal ingredients for the antidote are naturally very precious. There are 1,000-year-old knotweed, 10,000-year-old snow lotus, 3,000-year-old ginseng, and other precious medicinal ingredients. The cost of these medicinal ingredients. Don't worry, this old man will bear the cost. How could I let the King of Medicine spend so much money? I can't thank you enough for helping me detoxify the poison. How can I let you pay for it? Elder Yu quickly said, how much does it cost? Not much, just 1 billion. Yao Wang nodded and said, how much? Elder Yu paused, not hearing clearly. 1 billion. Yao Wang repeated, Ga. Elder Yu froze, his mouth wide open, speechless. 1 billion? What kind of cosmic joke was this? 1 billion to detoxify a poison? Even if the antidote was made of diamonds, it wouldn't be worth that much. Yao Wang's words shocked even Zhao Qibing. 1 billion. Yao Wang really dared to ask for that much. From what Zhao Qibing saw, 3 or 200 million was the most he could ask for. But Yao Wang was asking for so much. But Zhao Qibing liked it. Young Master Zhao, isn't the treatment fee a little too expensive? Elder Yu finally came back to his senses and said to Zhao Qibing, Elder Yu, you're wrong. Zhao Qibing waved his hand. Elder Yu, think about it. These are all precious herbs. We don't have much in stock. We're mainly keeping them for Grandpa and the masters of the house. Now that we're using so much to detoxify the poison for you, if someone in the house needs to break through, we won't be able to find them. Grandpa is about to break through Earth class to Sky class. You know how much we've sacrificed for House Yu. Zhao Qibing's words infuriated Elder Yu. Even if all these treasures were real, it didn't cost 1 billion. Did he think he was an idiot? It wasn't like House Yu didn't have any treasures. Although they didn't have the knotweed or the 10,000-year snow lotus, they did have treasures that were worse than this. He didn't believe that House Zhao had so many treasures, but even if he doubted it, he couldn't do anything about it. Elder Yu's life was in their hands. He couldn't turn against House Yu. Young Master Zhao, this treatment fee is an astronomical figure to me. I don't have much money, do you think? Can you reduce it a little? Elder Yu suppressed his anger and asked. He had to ask if he really wanted to leave. He could only go back to the hotel and wait for his death. Of course, Zhao Qibing waved his hand. Elder Yu, I'll tell you the truth. It's because you're here. If it were someone else, we wouldn't be willing to sell these treasures for 1 billion. Elder Yu almost cursed. You scammed me of my money, and I have to remember your kindness? But he didn't dare. I really don't have much money. Elder Yu knew the hidden house Yu's wealth like the back of his hand. Most of the hidden house Yu's money was earned by the common house Yu. How could he not know? But How could the hidden house you give him money to detoxify the poison? That phone call from before had completely disappointed Elder You in the hidden house you. His heart was cold, and his heart was cold. From his point of view, he was just a dog of the hidden house you. His life and death had nothing to do with the hidden house you. So, Elder You didn't even think about calling the hidden house you for money. As for the common house you, Elder You believed that although Yu Shuaixing would definitely give him money if he asked for it, but Elder You knew how much the common house you's wealth was. Although the common house you was rich, most of the money was earned by the hidden house you. All these years, the common house you had earned a total of 1 billion. If he used this money to detoxify the poison, what would happen to the common house you? Wouldn't they be on the path of decline? Elder You couldn't do something like this. Chapter 1422. As expected, this 1 billion came prepared. Elder You was so pissed that he wanted to curse out loud. Did he calculate how much money house you had? And that's why he brought this up? This 1 billion was really high standard. Young Master Zhao, you see, house you can take out this 1 billion, but that's liquid capital. If we took it out, some of our businesses would have to stop operating. Elder You explained helplessly. I say, Elder You, what does all this have to do with me? Qibing frowned, getting impatient. His status was much higher than Elder You, who had just become a hidden noble house, so he didn't waste any more time. Elder You, I'll tell you the truth. If you want to cure your illness, then take out 1 billion. If you can't use cash, then you can use items of equal value to trade. Real estate companies or even house use auction house. Otherwise, you'll have to find someone else. Qibing had been drooling over house use properties for a long time. If he could get it, he'd be doing a great service to House Zhao, and even his grandpa would look at him differently. Elder You was depressed, but if he really turned and walked away now, that would be a reckless move. But he'd rather die if he had to use house use rise and fall as the price. Suddenly, Elder You thought of something that might be able to move Yao Wang and Qibing's hearts. Elder You didn't want to part with it, but it wasn't worth a single cent to him right now. When he returned to the hidden house you, he'd still have to hand it over, and it wouldn't benefit him at all. That was the qi-gathering pill he found in the tomb, a miraculous medicine that could allow someone to break through from Earth-class late-phase peak to sky-class. But this miraculous medicine wouldn't be of much use to Elder You. Elder Yu's current strength was still far from Earth-class late-phase peak, and if he was discovered by the hidden house you, it'd be troublesome. He might as well use it to trade for his life. He believed that House Zhao wouldn't go around telling people about this. With that thought, Elder You opened his mouth. I'll use treasures of equal value to trade. Can I? Oh, what kind of treasure? The King of Medicine's interest was piqued as he raised his eyebrows and asked, a qi-gathering pill. It's worth a lot, and there's no market for it. Elder You made up his mind. Qi-gathering pill? What's that? Qibing had never heard of a qi-gathering pill before. Is it valuable? Is it worth 1 billion? Young Master Zhao, this qi-gathering pill is a divine medicine for cultivation. I believe that with the Medicine King's experience, he should know the value of the qi-gathering pill. Elder You knew that Zhao Qibing didn't know much, so he didn't get angry. After all, he was the one asking for help, so he explained patiently. What you're talking about, is it really the legendary qi-gathering pill? Yao Wang's eyes froze as he looked at Elder You. Elder You, you're not joking, right? My life is in your hands, King of Medicine. Do you think I can casually joke around? Elder You smiled bitterly. This time, I risked my life for this qi-gathering pill, and in the end, it's all for nothing. And I've suffered so much. Elder Yu's face was a little bleak as he said this. He spent so much effort, got heavily injured, even stabbed his egg, and got poisoned to bring this qi-gathering pill out of the tomb. But to save his life, he had to give it away to someone else. How sad. If you really have something like this, then I'm the one who got the best deal. Yao Wang knew the value of the qi-gathering pill. After hearing Elder Yu's confirmation, he couldn't help but be moved. Can I have a look? Of course. Elder Yu had already decided to use it as a life-saving bargaining chip. How could he not let Yao Wang see it first? And so, Elder Yu took out a small bottle and carefully passed it to Yao Wang. He was a little reluctant. He had risked his life for this, and now it was going to belong to someone else. The medicine king carefully took the bottle, opened it, and sniffed. His face immediately revealed a shocked expression. From the appearance, color, and fragrance of the elixir, it should be at least a third-grade elixir. The color and smell are very similar to the legendary qi-gathering elixir. It should be true. I won't lie to you. Elder Yu felt his heart ache. All right, I'll do my best to cure you, Yao Wang said decisively. This was a great deal. One had to know that this was a spiritual medicine that could raise a practitioner's strength from Earth class late phase peak to Sky class. Currently, the head of House Xiao was stuck at this bottleneck and hadn't made any progress for more than 6 years. If he and Zhao Qibing could give this pill to the head of the house, then their positions in House Xiao would be like heroes who had done a great service to the family. Wait. Elder Yu waved his hand to stop Yao Wang. Oh, Elder Yu, is there anything else? Yao Wang asked calmly. He was afraid that Elder Yu would change his mind and use 1 billion to exchange for this qi-gathering pill. My other body parts are injured too. Can you heal them all together? Since Elder Yu had spent so much money, naturally, he couldn't just cure the poison. Naturally, that's not a problem. Yao Wang agreed quickly. Actually, curing the poison wasn't easy for Yao Wang, but it wasn't too much effort either. It was just that in order to make Elder Yu feel that this pill was worth it, Yao Wang purposely changed the time from 1 day to 3 days. As for the injuries on Elder Yu's hand and balls, they were small problems. Yao Wang took care of them directly. After the treatment, Elder Yu felt much better. He breathed a sigh of relief and returned to the hotel. Yao Wang, that qi-gathering pill, what is it? Zhao Qibing didn't ask. Although he could tell from Yao Wang's expression that it was something good, he didn't know how good it was. Congratulations, Master Bing. This time, House Xiao will welcome a new era of glory. Yao Wang couldn't help but let out a hearty laugh. The heavens are really blessing our House Xiao. This qi-gathering pill is a spiritual medicine that can help one break through from the peak of late Earth class to Sky class. It's a legendary medicine that's rarely seen even in the ancient sections. Who would have thought that our House Xiao would get our hands on it? Chapter 14:23. Naturally, Yao Wang nodded, and we, with Master Bing as the leader, will become the heroes of House Xiao. Really? Ha ha! Qibing laughed excitedly. Doesn't that mean I have hoped to return to House Xiao and find my roots? Of course. Not only that, no one in House Xiao would dare to look down on you anymore. Even the young madam wouldn't say anything about it. Since Yao Wang was sent to Songshan to help Qibing earn money, whether he was willing or not, in the eyes of House Xiao, he was part of Qibing's illegitimate son's faction. Now that Qibing was so powerful, his status would naturally rise as well. All right, Qibing nodded. If that's the case, it really is a good thing. I'll report this to Father later. While they were talking, Uncle Zhu brought Zhao Fafa into the back room of the floating cloud bar with a pale face. Uncle Zhu, how was it? Did you teach that servant a lesson? Qibing already knew the effects of the qi-gathering pill. Through Yao Wang's explanation, he was in a good mood, imagining the scene of him returning to House Xiao, so he didn't notice Uncle Zhu's expression. Master Bing, do you know who this kid wanted me to teach a lesson to? Uncle Zhu was about to explode when he remembered what happened earlier. This was asking him to die. Who? Isn't it just a servant? Qibing paused when he heard Uncle Zhu's unfriendly tone. Servant? That servant is Lin Yi, and Lin Yi's follower, Er Gooden. He's asking me to jump into a fire pit. Uncle Zhu pointed at Zhao Fafa. He's trying to kill us. Lin Yi, Qibing froze. Could it be that the girl he's talking about is Tang Yun? Tang Yun. He dared to tease Tang Yun. I'm really shocked. Why isn't he dead yet? Uncle Zhu didn't know what to say after seeing Zhao Fafa's fearless attitude. Slap. Qibing slapped Zhao Fafa's face. Mother asterisk cur. You're really something. I don't even dare to do anything to Tang Yun. And you dare? You're really a piece of work. Get lost. I'm in a good mood today, so I won't argue with you. Don't let me see you again. Zhao Fafa didn't dare say anything else. He covered his face and ran away. He didn't know why Zhao Qibing was so angry, but it was obvious that this Lin Yi was very powerful. Even Zhao Qibing and Uncle Zhu were afraid of him. Zhao Fafa knew that he had messed with someone he shouldn't have messed with. Although Zhao Fafa left, Zhao Qibing still felt wronged. After listening to Uncle Zhu's story, his face darkened. Lin Yi again. I'll kill you sooner or later. Master Bing, wait until you get some support from the Zhao family. Wait until the master breaks through to the heaven rank. By then, what will Lin Yi amount to? Killing him is easy. Yao Wang reminded. Right, who would I be afraid of once Grandpa advances to the heaven rank? Qibing's expression softened as he thought about his bright future. He picked up his phone and called his father, Zhao Guangyin. Qibing, what's wrong? Did House use you Huishingo to see you? Guangyin didn't know why Qibing was calling him. He's here, but I won't let him get away with it. I'll pay him 1 billion, Qibing said. What? 1 billion? Guangyin froze and frowned. Qibing, isn't that a little too high? After all, House Xiao and House Yu are in-laws. Wouldn't we be offending House Yu? Guangyin was worried about his wife, Yu Xiaojin's attitude. Wasn't Zhao Qibing openly going against House Yu? What's wrong? Father, are you blaming me? Qibing wasn't happy. He felt that his father was always worrying about this and that. He couldn't achieve anything great. That's not it. But Qibing, this price is a little high. Is it okay? Guangyin couldn't say that it was because of Yu Xiaojin. Father, let me finish first. Qibing said, Actually, I know a huge secret. Aunt Yu isn't with you. Is she? Secret? No, I'm in the study by myself. Guangyin paused. Actually, I know that Yu Huixing has a super elixir with him. It's called the Qi Gathering Pill. Qibing had already thought of how to maximize the credit. He turned it from a coincidence to a plan. What? Qi Gathering Pill? How does he have such a miracle elixir? Guangyin almost threw the phone away. This was too shocking. As early as 3 years ago, when Lord Zhao's breakthrough to the heaven rank was fruitless, he went to look for this kind of medicinal pill. But how could this kind of medicinal pill be so easy to find? He had to give up after a fruitless search. He didn't think that Qibing would have news of this elixir. It's an accident, isn't it? Who cares? Qibing said. So I was thinking, how can I get his elixir and give it to Grandpa? I can't take it by force. So I discussed it with Yao Wang and offered a price of 1 billion, under Yao Wang's guidance. I got Yu Huixing to give me the elixir. Qibing was a man who knew how to get people to his side. When he talked to his father, he pointed out Yao Wang's contribution. This made Yao Wang feel that Qibing was a good master. What? The Qi Gathering Pill is in your hands now. Guangyin was surprised and overjoyed after hearing Qibing's words. He stood up abruptly. Is that true? Yu Huixing is willing to give me such a miracle elixir? Ha! Of course, it's in my hands, Qibing said proudly. Yu Huixing naturally didn't want to give it to me, but he had to in order to save his life. Then, does the hidden house you know about this? Guangyin suddenly thought of an important thing. Would House Yu come looking for trouble? Of course not. Even if Yu Huixing had 10,000 guts, he wouldn't dare give us the elixir. Even if we cured him, he'd be severely punished when he returned to the hidden house Yu. Qibing didn't care. So, Father, we can't tell Anna Yu about this. Only Grandpa knows. Chapter 14:24. Thank you, Father. Cheebing was a little excited. Was he going to become a practitioner soon? Cheebing was really looking forward to it. Generally speaking, whether it was the internal martial arts or the external martial arts, they were all cultivated from a young age. Once they passed that age, it would be very difficult to make any progress in cultivation. This was because at that time, the meridians and bones would already be formed. No matter how hard they worked, there would not be much effect. Naturally, Zhao Qibing had missed the chance to train, so he didn't go back to training. This was the same as Qin Yuqian. If it wasn't for Lin Yi, Qin Yuqian wouldn't be able to achieve anything in his lifetime. Of course, there were ways to change this flaw. Although Lin Yi's method was effective, it was too miraculous. Normal people wouldn't be able to do it. So for sex and hidden houses, there was another way to change a person's meridians and bones. This pill was called the Foundation Elixir. Although the Foundation Establishment pill was not a very high-grade pill, only a few people in the ancient sects could refine it. The refining process was complicated, and the success rate was extremely low. Therefore, the cost was also ridiculously high. Normally, unless one was an important person in the clan, it was impossible for them to consume this kind of pill. If Zhao Qibing could use it, it meant that House Zhao would officially bring him into the core of the family and raise him as a core disciple. All right, I'll tell Father right away. Get ready. I'll send someone to pick you up. Guangyin said solemnly. Yes, Father. Qibing replied. It had been so many years, and he hadn't been able to officially enter House Zhao. This time, it would be the start of his dream. Lin Yi didn't expect this little thing to be so stubborn. General Wei Wu chatted with him for so long, but the little guy still didn't want to leave. He wanted to stay in the tomb, but this pig's IQ wasn't low. He had deep feelings for Zhang Liju, so it was understandable. General Wei Wu and Skybolt Pig talked for a while more, and Skybolt Pig brought General Wei Wu to a stone room at the back. Lin Yi saw this and quickly got up to follow with Xiaoka. Inside the stone room, Lin Yi saw a mountain of herbs piled up on the floor. Although many of the herbs were already dried, Lin Yi could tell from the appearance that there were many rare and precious herbs among them. After the Skybolt Pig walked in, he casually picked up a few herbs with his two front paws and stuffed them into his mouth. He then chewed on them with relish. This scene stunned Xiaoka, but Lin Yi was prepared for it. Lin Yi had seen the introduction of Skybolt Pig in Zhang Liju's medical notes, and he knew that this animal relied on herbs to increase its strength. It wasn't surprising that it ate herbs like rice. Woof woof. General Wei Wu said something to Skybolt Pig, and Skybolt Pig said something to General Wei Wu as well. After that, General Wei Wu raised his head and looked at Lin Yi. He used his paw to point at the herbs and pointed at Skybolt Pig. He then waved his paw and pointed at the door. You're saying that there aren't these herbs outside, so it doesn't want to leave? Lin Yi roughly understood what General Wei Wu was trying to say and asked hesitantly, woof woof. General Wei Wu quickly nodded, indicating that Lin Yi was right. So that's how it is. Lin Yi looked at the mountain of herbs. If he were to move all these herbs out, it would be quite a big project. Lin Yi didn't have the legendary storage ring, and he didn't have any machines in this tomb that he could borrow. One could imagine how difficult it would be to move all these herbs out. But if he didn't move out, Skybolt Pig probably wouldn't go with him. This little guy wasn't stupid. He knew that he could increase his strength by staying here, but there wouldn't be any benefits if he left. It seemed like it wasn't entirely because he missed Zhang Liju. However, if he were to ask Lin Yi to buy these herbs for Skybolt Pig to eat, Lin Yi really didn't have that much spare cash. Don't underestimate these things. Just the ginseng and Ganoderma in front of him. Any box would be worth a lot of money. Lin Yi couldn't trick Skybolt Pig into leaving and not fulfill his promise. If he did that, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Lin Yi still needed him to find the fire spirit's fruit. What could he do to solve this problem? Lin, he was in a difficult position, right? Wasn't Skybolt Pig's goal to increase his strength? If he could increase General Wei Wu's strength, then naturally he could increase Skybolt Pig's strength as well. Currently, Skybolt Pig was only at the middle phase of Golden Class, but he could increase his strength to the early phase of Mystic Class. With this kind of enticement, would this little thing leave with him? Skybolt Pig finished the herbs, and the chi in his body increased a little. Linny could feel it, but it was too little. It could only be described as insignificant. Since he had made up his mind, Lin E walked over to Skybolt Pig. The little guy seemed to be afraid of Lin E, but perhaps he knew that Lin E was a mystic middle phase peak, and he wasn't strong enough to fight him. Although he was afraid, he didn't dare to run. Lin E bent down and placed his hand on Skybolt Pig's body. He activated the art of Dragon Mastery and transferred a strand of energy to Skybolt Pig. The energy entered Skybolt Pig's body and instantly turned into chi. It merged with Skybolt Pig's chi, and his strength increased instantly. Although Lin E only transferred a little bit of energy, it was still much more than what Skybolt Pig got from eating the herbs. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they were worlds apart. Lin E, on the other hand, only gave it a small taste of sweetness. Lin E breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that his idea was realized. It seemed like the little guy was the same as General Wei Wu. He didn't practice any arts or chants, and the pure energy in his body was absorbed passively, as if it was a natural treasure. Perhaps this was the difference between spiritual beasts and human cultivators. Lin Yi's action made Skybolt Pig widen his eyes, and he looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. The little thing's IQ wasn't low. It could naturally tell the difference between the effects of Lin Yi's energy and the effects of the herbs it had consumed. Chapter 14:25. Skybolt Pig's heart skipped a beat. In actuality, General Wei Wu had told him that Lin Yi was a doctor as well as a practitioner, and he had Zhang Liju's medical notes. He could be considered as Zhang Liju's medical inheritor, and it wasn't impossible for Skybolt Pig to follow him out. After all, Zhang Liju had told Skybolt Pig before he died that if other doctors met him, he could go with them and help them with their medical practice. This was Zhang Liju's wish as well. Zhang Liju had never met a suitable disciple in his life. It was hard to find a good teacher, but it was also hard to find a good disciple. Zhang Liju was a strict man, and he would rather have nothing than a substandard disciple. In the end, he couldn't find a suitable disciple, and he could only regretfully bring all his knowledge into the tomb, waiting for the right person to visit the tomb and inherit what he had learned. So Zhang Liju's tomb was designed in a very strange and ingenious way. After figuring it all out, Lin Yi admired Zhang Liju. First of all, in order to enter the tomb and take Skybolt Pig away, one had to be someone who could communicate with spirit beasts. Lin Yi couldn't do it yet, but General Wei Wu could, and so Lin Yi and the others entered the tomb without a hitch. Otherwise, they would have been stopped by the spirit beast guarding the tomb. This was Zhang Liju's first test. If he could communicate with a spirit beast, then he could enter the tomb. But if this person wasn't a doctor and was just a normal tomb raider, then the poison mist and arrows would be enough to kill the person who visited the tomb. Of course, if they were a doctor, then they could detoxify the poisons. This kind of person was what Zhang Liju was looking for as a medical inheritor. As for the character and other things, it wasn't something Zhang Liju could care about. It didn't matter if the character was good or bad. As long as they were skilled in medicine and could communicate with spirit beasts, then they could be considered as his people. Plus, Zhang Liju had saved countless people in his life, but his character was a mix of good and evil, and he wasn't a rigid person. This was somewhat similar to Lin Yi's character. The Skybolt Pig had obtained even better benefits than when he was crazily eating medicinal herbs, so he immediately waved his hands in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi was a little speechless. Wasn't this little thing a little too snobbish? Previously, it wouldn't leave no matter what I said. Now that I've given it some benefits, it came to please me. Xiao Wei. Tell it that if it wants to level up, it has to come with me. Lin Yi said to General Wei Wu, asking him to pass on his message. However, before General Wei Wu could say anything, Skybolt Pig leaped up and hugged Lin Yi tightly, as if he was afraid that Lin Yi would change his mind and not bring him along. Woof woof. General Wei Wu pointed at Skybolt Pig and then at Lin Yi's mouth. It was obvious that this little guy could understand Lin Yi's words. Oh, Lin Yi was taken aback, but he nodded immediately. Since Zhang Liju could communicate with Skybolt Pig, it meant that Skybolt Pig could understand human language. This guy had always understood Lin Yi's words, and this pissed him off. Did this little thing laugh at him when he asked General Wei Wu to pass on his message? Stupid pig, you can understand my words? Lin Yi glared at Skybolt Pig. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig nodded in fear, afraid that Lin Yi would get angry and not bring him along. Let's go. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to argue with an animal. He pulled Skybolt Pig down from his body and threw it on the ground. Walk by yourself. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig wanted to hug Lin Yi's body because he felt that Lin Yi's body was like a spirit, filled with the energy of heaven and earth. Just a little bit of it, and he'd be able to benefit from it. Xiaoke saw how cute Skybolt Pig was, and she couldn't help but reach out to touch it. Suddenly, Lin Yi's jade sent a warning signal. Lin Yi was startled, and although he didn't know what danger was about to happen, he still called out, subconsciously, "Careful!" Xiaoke didn't expect that the moment she touched Skybolt Pig, all the hair on its body stood up, and it turned into an angry beast. It pricked Xiaoke's hand, causing it to bleed. Why does this little guy look like a porcupine? Xiaoke quickly retracted her hand and started sucking on her finger. I didn't think that it could protect itself. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. This little guy didn't have any attacking abilities, but it had defensive abilities. The jade warning was because Skybolt Pig was going to prick Xiaoke. Yeah, it won't even let me touch it. Xiaoke didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She touched it and got pricked. With the addition of Skybolt Pig, Lin Yi didn't plan on disturbing the owner of Zhang Liju's tomb anymore. He already got what he wanted, and Lin Yi wasn't a greedy person. Lin Yi's goal in this tomb was to find the fire spirit's fruit. So when Elder Yu took the Qi gathering pill, Lin Yi didn't feel bad about it, and he didn't chase after him and risk his life to get it back. Lin Yi didn't need to waste his energy on something that wasn't useful to Lin Yi. With Skybolt Pig and General Wei Wu, Lin Yi and Xiaoke quickly retreated through the death door. It was a safe and stable journey, and they didn't meet any danger. It seemed like their guess was right. Wherever Skybolt Pig was, there was no danger. They retreated until they reached the exit of the life door and death door. And Xiaoke suddenly felt dizzy. Male thief. I'm a little dizzy. Can we rest for a bit? Xiaoke was confused as to why she felt dizzy, but from her perspective, it was most likely due to the lack of oxygen in the tomb for too long. Oh, dizzy? Lin Yi paused. What's wrong? The air in the tomb was thinner than the outside world, but it shouldn't affect someone like Xiaoke, who was used to harsh environments. Even old He didn't feel any pressure, so why would Xiaoke? As a result, Lin Yi was curious about Xiaoke's sudden dizziness. As a doctor, especially since there were many dangers in the tomb, Lin Yi still asked her nervously. I don't know, maybe it's because the air in the tomb is thinner? Xiaoke said uncertainly. Chapter 14:26. Wait, Jade? Lin Yi suddenly remembered that the jade did warn him when Xiaoke was petting the pig. Lin Yi quickly grabbed Xiaoke's hand. Xiaoke didn't think that Lin Yi would grab her hand so suddenly. She thought that Lin Yi wanted to comfort her because of her dizziness, and she blushed. Their relationship became more and more intimate after this trip to the tomb. Xiaoke's heart couldn't help but race, and this time was no exception. However, After Lin Yi grabbed Yu Xiaoka's hand, he didn't do anything else. Instead, he checked Yu Xiaoka's wound. So, it's like this. Lin Yi saw that Yu Xiaoka's wound was red and swollen, and he nodded in realization. Tianlei pig's thorns are poisonous. Ah, poisonous? Yu Xiaoka felt that the wound on her hand was indeed itchy after hearing what Lin Yi said. Stupid pig, give me the antidote. Lin Yi kicked Tianlei pig and said, oink oink. Tianlei pig felt wronged, as if he was expressing his innocence. He didn't do it on purpose, but he instinctively defended himself when Yu Xiaoka got close to him. Lin Yi couldn't understand Tianlei pig's words, but General Weiwu could. Woof woof. General Weiwu pointed at Yu Xiaoka and waved its paw, then it made a sleeping posture. Oh, it means that the poison isn't a big deal, and you'll be fine after sleeping, Lin Yi explained to Yu Xiaoka. I see. Yu Xiaoka sighed in relief. Is there any way to cure it? Lin Yi asked again. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig heard Lin Yi's words and was a little unwilling, but after thinking about it for a while, he walked over to Xiaoka and used his front paw to pull out a hair from his body. He poked Xiaoka's hand with the hair on the other side of the hair follicle. Ah, Xiaoka cried out in pain. However, Lin Yi didn't stop him. He knew that the pig was trying to cure Yu Xiaoka's poison. If he dared to harm Yu Xiaoka again in front of Lin Yi, then he wouldn't be able to live anymore. Gigi, the Skybolt pig threw away its fur and shook its body, telling Lin Yi that the poison had been detoxified. How miraculous! The wound on my hand isn't itchy anymore, and I don't feel dizzy anymore. Yu Xiaoka exclaimed in surprise. This little thing is so miraculous. Next time, watch your enemies carefully. If you poke people again, I'll kick you out. Lin Yi said to the pig. GG. The Skybolt pig nodded to show that it understood. After leaving the tomb through the life door, Lin Yi brought Xiaoka, Skybolt pig, and General Weiwu, jumping up to the cliff on the side. Lin Yi ran like he was flying, and Yu Xiaoka's qigong was good as well. The 2 humans and 2 beasts soon arrived at the nearby town. Flying Sparrow, let's part ways here. We can get on the train from here. Lin Yi pointed at the train station. We'll meet again. Ah, we're going to part ways. Yu Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi, unwilling to leave since she was young, other than her master. The male thief was the one who cared for her the most. Yu Xiaoka would remember this tomb raiding experience for the rest of her life. She would never forget how the male thief had saved her from danger time and time again. Ha! Go back and live a good life. Don't come out anymore, and I won't do it anymore. I can't take care of you anymore. Lin Yi said to Yu Xiaoka. Oh. Yu Xiaoka nodded, a little disappointed. The male thief said that he was looking for a spiritual medicine for his girlfriend, so it was normal for him to give up. Then, will we meet again? Xiaoka knew that her question was a little silly. The male thief wasn't raiding tombs anymore, and she wasn't participating in missions like this anymore. The chances of the 2 of them meeting each other were basically 0. Perhaps they would never see each other again. If there are no accidents, I don't think so. Lin Yi smiled. The identity of the male thief was coming to an end. This person wasn't Lin Yi in the first place. It was Lin Yi in disguise. Now that the mission was over, naturally he wouldn't pretend to be the male thief anymore, unless Lin Yi had nothing better to do. I see. Yu Xiaoka already knew the answer, but she only gave up after asking it. All right, let's part ways here. Lin Yi said, You're very pretty and a kind girl. I hope you find the happiness that belongs to you. How could Lin Yi not know what Yu Xiaoka was thinking? But Lin Yi really didn't have the mood to develop anything with her. One was because of the restrictions of his identity, and the other was because he was worried about Xiao Xiao's safety. Oh, Yu Xiaoka lowered her head, as if she understood what the male thief meant. But she suddenly raised her head again and gathered her courage. Then, can you take off your mask and let me see your face? No. Lin Yi rejected her decisively. What kind of joke was this? Wouldn't you recognize me if I took it off? Just one look. Just one look. I won't tell anyone. Yu Xiaoke begged. What difference does it make? Lin Yi said faintly, At least, let me have a good memory. Yu Xiaoke said after some hesitation. All right, how about this? Perhaps we'll meet again. I'll appear with my original face, and if you recognize me, I won't deny it. Is that okay? Lin Yi said helplessly. Oh. Yu Xiaoke didn't think much about it. She thought that the male thief was just trying to brush her off. All right, I'm leaving. Take care, Lin Yi said, and turned around, bringing General Wei Wu and Skybolt Pig with him as he walked away. Male thief, I like you. Yu Xiaoke looked at the back of the male thief and finally gathered enough courage to shout out her heart. Yu Xiaoke wasn't a shy girl, in fact, she dared to love and hate. She felt that if she didn't voice out her feelings now, she wouldn't have another chance in the future. Lin Yi's footsteps paused for a moment, but he continued to walk forward as usual. I'll definitely find you. Yu Xiaoke shouted out her heart and became bolder. Although I don't know what you look like, it's rare to see a dog and a pig with you. I just need to remember them, and I'll find you. Chapter 14:27. Looking at General Wei Wu and Skybolt Pig beside him, Lin Yi wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Wasn't this too obvious? Lin Yi decided that he must hide Skybolt Pig well. When he got back, he must never bring him out, and it's decided. Xiaoke saw that Lin Yi didn't answer her, and she couldn't help but feel sad and disappointed. She shook her head, turned around, and quickly ran to the bus station. She suppressed her feelings deep in her heart. Once she returned to the orphanage, she would become the old Xiaoke again. She would work hard for the children every day. And, Xiaoke, you can do it. Xiaoke cheered herself on. And so, she smiled again. Lin Yi seemed to have left, but in fact, he watched Xiaoke get into the car before leaving with General Wei Wu and Skybolt Pig. The car they took was Chen Yuqian's, and he probably drove back already. So, Lin Yi didn't go back to the campsite. He took off his mask and took a taxi back to Songshan. Returning to the familiar villa, Lin Yi pressed the doorbell. Lin Yi didn't bring the key when he left. Not long after, footsteps came from the villa. Lin Yi could tell that it was Yushu. Shield bro. Yushu opened the door and saw Lin Yi standing outside. She exclaimed in excitement, Yao Yao sis, Shield bro is back. Yushu ran towards Lin Yi after shouting. Her chest was jiggling, and it made Lin Yi excited. He hadn't seen it for a long time. It was great that he could get such benefits as soon as he came home. Hurried footsteps came from the villa again. Meng Yao came out as well. Seeing Lin Yi, she smiled happily. Lin Yi, you're back. And I'm back. Lin Yi nodded to the Mississippi. The miss had gotten a lot friendlier these days. How are you guys? Did anything happen at home? Lin Yi's words made Meng Yao's face dim. Something happened. Zhou Jiaming seems to be injured. I don't know the details, but can you go check on him? Wu Chintian is heavily injured as well, and he's resting in your room with Zhou Jiaming. Wu Chintian. Lin Yi blinked. Why is he here? Lin Yi couldn't be blamed for his surprise. His relationship with Chintian had never been that good. There wasn't any deep hatred between them, but Chintian did see him as a rival in love. Why would he come here to recover after getting injured? Well, it's a long story. Meng Yao didn't know how to tell her about Chintian. Why don't you ask Zhou Jiaming? All right. Lin Yi didn't really care if Chintian was injured or not, but Zhou Jiaming was injured as well. Lin Yi nodded and quickly walked into the room. Lin Yi didn't need to care about Skybolt Pig. General Wei Wu would take it to where it belonged. Oh, what's this? Why is it so cute? Yushu was surprised to see the Skybolt Pig behind Lin Yi. A little pig, Lin Yi said. It's called Skybolt Pig. It's used to find the fire spirit's fruit. What a cute pig, Yushu said, reaching out to pet the pig. Right, we've been talking about Joe Jemming. How's the fire spirit's fruit? Mengyao was worried about Xiao Xiao's safety as well. Not in the tomb, but there's some news. I'll go check on Ergun first. We'll talk about the fruit later. Lin Yi glared at Skybolt Pig. Look at who's friend. They're all on our side. If you hurt them again, you'll get a beating. Oink, oink. Skybolt Pig nodded hard. Yushu and Mengyao went to study Skybolt Pig, and Lin Yi quickly walked into his room. Gooden heard the sound as well, but he had no strength left in his body. Other than barely being able to talk, he could only lie on the bed. Chuntian, on the other hand, was in an even worse state. His meridians were all broken, and his organs were all shifted. Boss, you're back. Gooden finally smiled when he saw Lin Yi walk in. I didn't disappoint you. I finally made it. What's wrong with you, kid? You've only been here for a short while, and you've already learned how to talk. Lin Yi knew about Gooden's situation, and he could roughly guess what was going on. Overexertion? Yeah. Gooden nodded. It's nothing. I can still hold on. Boss, you're good. Chintian was worried. After all, he had some conflict with Lin Yi, and he was afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't accept him. He'd be in big trouble then. Not only would he be heavily injured, but he'd also offended a bunch of noble houses. House would be done for. Wu Chintian, since when did I become your big boss? Lin Yi blinked, confused as he looked at Chintian. Boss, let me tell you, Wu Chintian did his best when I was injured. Gooden had already accepted Chintian in his heart, and naturally he wanted Lin Yi to accept him as well. And so Gooden told Lin Yi everything that happened after Lin Yi left, including how he killed the 2 masters from House Pai, and then Jean Wudi. Then Uncle Zhu brought Zhao Fafa to Tang Yun, and Chintian sacrificing himself. Oh. Lin Yi looked at Chintian, shocked. He didn't think that he would change like this. He actually accepted Gooden as his boss. Big boss, don't worry. I won't have any thoughts about Sun Jingyi anymore. She's my big sister-in-law now, and I'll protect her like how I protect Tang Yun. Chun Tian was afraid that Lin Yi would still remember what happened to Sun Jingyi, so he quickly explained, me and Sun Jingyi, we don't have anything to do with each other. Lin Yi smiled bitterly after hearing what Chintian said. It doesn't matter if we have anything to do with each other or not. I've decided that I'll focus on learning martial arts from Boss and Big Boss. I hope Boss and Big Boss won't look down on me. Chan Tian quickly expressed his intentions. All right, I'll accept you. Lin Yi could see Chin Tian's sincerity. This person actually didn't have much conflict with Lin Yi, but because of Sun Jingyi, he was set up by Xiao Xiao a couple of times. Now that he was injured protecting Tang Yun, Lin Yi couldn't reject him. Chapter 14:28. Having someone like Chin Tian as a bodyguard wasn't a bad idea, so Lin Yi decided to take him in. Chin Tian's face relaxed after hearing Lin Yi's words. Thank you, boss. But I can't teach you much about physical martial arts. I don't have any special training experience. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, however, I can concoct some special potions that can transform the body for you. Soak your palms in it, and it should help your Iron Fist training a lot. Lin Yi was a physical practitioner as well, but he didn't have much of it, and he didn't have any practitioner's arts. He only used some of the old man's potions to change his body's muscles and bones. And this was one of the reasons why Lin Yi was stronger than normal practitioners. That's great. Thank you, boss. Chin Tian said excitedly. He thought that Lin Yi would have to go through a period of testing before giving him some benefits, but he didn't think that Lin Yi would give him a greeting gift right away. In fact, Lin Yi did want to test Chin Tian, but time didn't allow it. Lin Yi wanted to find the fruit as soon as possible, and he didn't have much time left in Songshan. He had to settle things here and go on a new journey. And so, since Gooden had already tested Chintian, Lin Yi didn't need to test him again. At least, Lin Yi could see the sincerity in Chintian's eyes. No need to thank me, but don't be stupid and let people trick you again. Lin Yi looked at Chintian. You've been tricked by Xiao Xiao so many times, and that's fine, but you need to be smarter in the future. Don't always go out and act like you're cool. Ugh, Xiao Xiao, didn't I get tricked by sis-in-law? We're family, so it's not tricked. Chintian explained awkwardly. But don't worry, boss, I'll be careful. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say anything else. Zhao Fafa brought a Zhu guy to cause trouble for Tang Yun. Is Zhao Qibing tired of living? After that, I analyzed it with Miss Chu. It should be because Uncle Zhu didn't know that Tang Yun was your girlfriend, boss, and Zhao Fafa didn't tell the truth. So they went to find trouble with Tang Yun's sis-in-law. Chun Tian explained. Big boss, this name is a bit too weird. You can call me Big Boss Lin Yi from now on. You can also call me Zhou Jiaming, Lin Yi corrected. All right, I'll call him Boss Lin Yi then. Chun Tian said straightforwardly. He'd call him whatever Lin Yi liked. You don't know? I can't just let it go if you don't know. But you're the one who's injured, so I'll respect your decision on how to deal with Zhao Qibing. Lin Yi raised his head and looked at Chintian. Do you want some benefits? Or do you want to step on him yourself when you're strong enough? Chintian wasn't Tang Yun, so Lin Yi couldn't help him. Although he was Lin Yi's follower, there was still a difference between him and a woman. Can I? Boss Lin Yi, can I step on him myself? Chintian heard Lin Yi's words, and his eyes lit up. Forget about the benefits. I want to step on him myself. All right, I'll let you step on him yourself. Lin Yi sighed and decided to help Chintian increase his strength. He'd left, Gooden had left as well, and he didn't feel safe leaving Uncle Fu here alone. The only person he could use right now was Wu Chintian. Boss Lin Yi, I'll wait for this day. No matter how much pain I have to endure, no matter how much effort I have to put in, I can endure it. As long as I can cripple that old man with my own hands, I'll be able to act cool for a moment. Chintian gritted his teeth and swore. Lin Yi was speechless at Chintian's pretentious attitude. He said unhappily, How many days do you want to wait? Endure hardships and endure? You can wait, but I can't. Ah, Chintian froze after hearing Lin Yi's words. What do you mean? Nothing. Tomorrow, you'll go and cripple that old man Zhu, then come back and stay in the villa peacefully as a bodyguard for Meng Yao. Yushu and Tang Yun, Lin Yi said. Tomorrow? Chintian opened his mouth and looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. He wondered if there was something wrong with his ears. He was still lying on the bed today. How was he going to take revenge tomorrow? Not to mention that his injuries weren't healed yet. Even if he did, he wouldn't be a match for Uncle Zhu. Tomorrow, Lin Yi nodded with certainty. Chantian, on the other hand, was very confused. He didn't know what Lin Yi was so confident that he could go to Uncle Zhu for revenge tomorrow. He asked, Boss Lin Yi, my injuries, and I'm not strong enough? Are you going to hug him and let me hit him? I'll heal your injuries, and I'll help you increase your strength, Lin Yi said. We'll talk about this later. I'll send Gooden back first. I'm fine. I've been holding on for so many days already. A little more doesn't matter. Gooden shook his head nonchalantly. We can't drag it any longer. Did you tell Yuan? I'm worried about you going back alone. I'll send you back to the train and have Yuan go home with you? Lin Yi asked. I did tell her about my injuries, but asking her to go back with me, I didn't ask, so I don't know if she'll go back with me. Gooden scratched his head embarrassedly. Boss, I'm afraid that she'll reject. How do you know if you don't ask? Lin Yi was experienced. She'll go back with you. At first, Lin Yi wasn't sure if Tang Yun would go back with him, but she chose to go with him without hesitation. Then, I'll just ask. Gooden hesitated and decided to call Yuan. He didn't let Ling Shan leak the news of Yu Qian's injuries, and of course that included Lin Yi. First, Yu Qian didn't want his sister to know. If he told Lin Yi, it would be the same as letting Yushu know. The siblings were very close, and Yu Qian was afraid that Yushu would be sad if she knew. Second, he didn't want Lin Yi to cause trouble for House Yu. Everyone had seen House Yu's strength in the tomb. It wasn't wise to ask Lin Yi to go to House Yu to avenge him. Lin Yi had more important things to do. Chapter 14:29. Today, Lingshan had an appointment with Sun Jingyi from House Sunday. She wanted to talk about Chen Yuqian. Although she knew that the chances were slim, she had to try no matter what. It was a coffee shop, and Lingshan was wearing sunglasses as she sat at a table in front of a glass window, waiting for Sun Jingyi to arrive. Sun Jingyi was still driving her red Audi A4L. What surprised her was that Wu Chintian didn't bother her at all. As Sun Jingyi returned to her peaceful days, she started to miss Lin Yi. Could it be that she really fell in love with this young man? Sun Jingyi denied this thought. Lin Yi didn't have anything worthy of praise. Did he? He was just a big thief. How could he be worthy of her, Sun Jingyi? But Lin Yi wasn't just a big thief. He had other identities, and he wasn't weak either. In fact, Sun Jingyi couldn't find a reason to ask Lin Yi out again. So, she started to look down on Lin Yi in her heart, reminding herself not to be interested in Lin Yi anymore. Sun Jingyi parked her car in front of the coffee shop and walked in quickly. She saw Lingshan sitting by the window. Although Sun Jie didn't have much contact with House Song, Sun Jingyi still had an impression of this famous captain of the criminal investigation team. She had seen her on TV before. Recently, Lingshan had solved many big cases. Miss Sun? Hello. Lingshan naturally knew about Sun Jingyi's information beforehand, so she recognized Sun Jingyi the moment she walked in. She stood up and waved. Sun Jingyi nodded and sat in front of Lingshan. Officer Song, why are you looking for me? Since they chose to meet in a coffee shop, it couldn't be about work. But Sun Jingyi couldn't understand why Lingshan wanted to meet her. They didn't seem to have any personal relationship. Call me Lingshan. This isn't the police station. Lingshan smiled. I'll call you Jingyi. Is that okay? Of course, Sun Jingyi was even more confused. What was Lingshan trying to do? Jingyi, come sit. What would you like to drink? Lingshan smiled. Anything. Juice is fine. Sun Jingyi sighed and decided to skip the pleasantries. Her instincts told her that Lingshan wanted to meet her for something. So, Sun Jingyi decided to go straight to the point. Lingshan, why are you looking for me? Ugh, it's like this. Lingshan was embarrassed that Sun Jingyi saw through her intentions. Then I'll be straight to the point. Okay? How's Sun's Practitioner's Arts? Which stage are you at? Only the first stage. Why? Could it be that you want to ask for House Sun's help during the Noble House meeting? Sun Jingyi couldn't figure out what Lingshan was thinking. At the moment, the only thing that could make the two interact was the Noble House meeting. That's not it. I just want to ask you to help heal someone, Lingshan said, finding it hard to bring up the topic. Heal someone? Sun Jingyi frowned. What do you mean? I'm not a doctor. How am I supposed to heal someone? His meridians are damaged. Normal doctors won't be able to help him. I can only ask for your help, Lingshan said carefully. Lingshan, since you're asking for my help, then you should know how special House Sun's Practitioner's Arts are, right? Sun Jingyi didn't reject her directly. She asked in a roundabout way. I know, but he really needs help. If he can't recover, then his family will never be able to recover, Lingshan said. So, I'm begging you from the bottom of my heart. You can help him, no matter what it is, just tell me. Lingshan, don't you think that your request is a little presumptuous? Sun Jingyi decided to tell the truth. This was a matter of principle. Sun Jingyi couldn't lie to Lingshan. I know it's a little presumptuous, but this is his last hope. Ling Shan smiled bitterly. Forgive me for being blunt, but if I heal him, then the true qi produced in my body can only be used by him in the future. I am not related to him in any way. If it were you, would you do this? Son, Jingyi said faintly, unless you're my future husband. If not, then I'm sorry. It's fine. Actually, I already knew the result. Jingyi, don't be angry. Ling Shan saw that Sun Jingyi was a little angry and quickly explained, I know you're worried, but I really can't do this. Sun, Jingyi rejected. Instead of begging me, you might as well get him a meridian opening pill. Meridian opening pill. Ling Shan smiled bitterly. This is a treasure even in a hidden house. How am I supposed to get it? Sun, Jingyi shrugged helplessly. It was true. The meridian opening pill was hard to come by even in a hidden house, let alone Ling Shan. Otherwise, how Sun wouldn't have such a high position as one of the noble houses? Although House Sun's arts didn't just heal wounds, it could also increase a person's strength. But if the meridian opening pill was too common, House Sun wouldn't be able to rise to such a high position. I'm sorry, but that's not something I need to worry about. Sun, Jingyi nodded to Ling Shan. Ling Shan, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. All right. Thank you, too. Ling Shan sighed and was about to call the waiter for the bill when an ear-piercing alarm sounded. Ling Shan raised her head and saw that there was a commotion at the bank across the street. The alarm was coming from the bank. Not good. Ling Shan realized something immediately. Excuse me, she said to Jingyi before leaving the money on the table. She didn't even bother to keep the change and ran out of the coffee shop as fast as she could. But even so, Ling Shan was one step too slow. A figure carrying a sack ran out of the bank. His speed and body were both super fast, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the alley beside the bank. Ling Shan felt a sense of familiarity as she looked at the disappearing silhouette, but she didn't have time to think about it. She crossed the road and rushed to the alley beside the bank, but the alley was empty by the time she got there. There was no one there at all. Chapter 1430. Looking at the empty alley, Ling Shan had no choice but to give up. The robbers should have already left with a vehicle, and chasing after them would be futile. She turned around and went back to the bank, her face a little dark as she yelled, Everyone, don't panic. I'm the robber. Is the person in charge here? I'm the vice president on duty, a middle-aged man said as he ran over. I was the one who called the police. I didn't rush here. I was on the other side of the road and heard the alarm, Ling Shan said. Ling Shan said, I'm the captain of the city police's criminal investigation team, Song Ling Shan. This is my ID. Please tell me what happened and show me the surveillance footage. All right. The vice president naturally didn't care if Ling Shan just happened to see it or not. He'd heard of Ling Shan's name before. It was like this. Ling Shan couldn't help but furrow her brows after hearing the vice president's explanation. The exact same robbery method, the exact same outfit, at least from the initial analysis. It should be the same person as the previous robberies. As the vice president was explaining the situation, police sirens came from outside the bank. Lu Wangli brought his men and rushed into the bank, only to see Ling Shan there. Captain Song, why are you here? Lu Wangli paused. I was in the cafe opposite, and I saw the whole process of the robber's escape, but he was too quick. He was already gone by the time I got here. Ling Shan said, a little regretful. Yeah, from the previous robberies, this robber seems to have gone through professional training. Not only is he fast, but he's also fast when he escapes. Lu Wangli nodded helplessly. This is the 6th case already. It's only been a few days. Ling Shan could only put Yu Qian's matter aside for now and focus on solving the robberies. The robber's boldness and arrogance were out of her expectations. This robber had reached a stage where he didn't care about anything. Hidden House Zhao, the young master of the house, Zhao Guangyin, was anxiously standing in front of his father's room, waiting for him to come out. Elder Bai, how long has father been in seclusion? Guangyin looked at the time and asked urgently. It's been about 3 days. According to the time, he should be out soon. Elder Bai said faintly, Please don't rush, young master. I'm not allowed to disturb the master when he's in solitary training in order to advance from the earth rank to the heaven rank. Old man Zhao would often go into seclusion, but he would come out every 2 or 3 days to inquire about the Zhao family's affairs. If there was nothing important, he would go back into seclusion. All right, Zhao. Guangyin nodded respectfully. Is Guangyin here? Old Zhao's voice came from the room behind Elder Bai. Head, the young head is here. Elder Bai quickly replied, respectfully, when he heard Elder Zhao's voice. Let him in, Old man Zhao said. Yes, Patriarch. Elder Bai quickly said, and made a welcoming gesture to Guangyin. Young head, please come in. Guangyin nodded and said to Elder Bai, Elder Bai, I have something very important to tell my father. It concerns the future of the Zhao family. So please don't let anyone near. Don't worry, young head. I will watch the door. Elder Bai's face turned serious after hearing Guangyin's words, although he was directly under Elder Zhao's command. Guangyin was still the young head. Elder Bai still respected him a lot. Since Guangyin said it was important, then whether it was for the sake of the Zhao family or his responsibility to Elder Zhao, he had to guard the door. He couldn't let anyone near. Guangyin walked into Old Master Zhao's villa. At this moment, Old Master Zhao was sitting in the living room of the villa's main entrance. He was dressed in a white training outfit and held a cup of fragrant tea in his hand. He looked like an immortal. Father, Guangyin bowed and said respectfully, Yes, Guangyin is here. What is it? Lord Zhao nodded and said, From what you said, is there anything that concerns the future development of our Zhao family? What is it? Father, it's about Lil Bing, Guangyin said. Zhao Qibing. Old Zhao couldn't help but frown when he heard the name. He had never liked this illegitimate child. After all, House Zhao and House Yu were in-laws, and Zhao Guangyin had an illegitimate child outside. How was he supposed to face House Yu like this? So, Elder Zhao could only pretend that he didn't know about it and didn't mention it publicly. He also didn't let Qibing return to House Zhao, and House Yu didn't find anything wrong with it. What trouble did he cause this time? Elder Zhao's first thought was that Qibing had caused trouble. Father, Zhao Qibing has done a great deed for House Zhao this time. Guangyin actually hoped that Elder Zhao would recognize Qibing. After all, Qibing was his son, and Zhao Guangyin was a man who valued boys over girls. Even though Qibing was an illegitimate child, he still valued him a lot. He couldn't help but exaggerate when he introduced Qibing's contributions to the family. Great deed? What credit? Old man Zhao was stunned. What did he do outside? It's like this. Guangyin quickly explained how Qibing and Yao Wang had tricked House Yu Huisheng into giving them the qi-gathering pill. What? Qi-gathering pill? This thing really appeared. When old man Zhao heard Zhao Guangyin's words, he immediately stood up in excitement. He was a calm person, and it was rare for anything to make him so excited. However, today he couldn't hold it in anymore. Yes, Zhao Qibing, this child, it's been hard on him. He's just being filial to you. He's always remembered that you're an Earth-class late-phase peak, and he's been trying so hard to break through to Sky-class, but to no avail. So he tried everything he could to find the whereabouts of this qi-gathering pill. Guangyin said, This child, he dared to ask Yu Huisheng, an Earth-class, for this pill? He's willing to put his life on the line for you. Father, you have to know that if Yu Huisheng isn't happy, Lil Bing won't be a match for him. Chapter 1431. Guangyin, there's no need to say, I understand what you mean. Old Zhao naturally understood the meaning behind Guangyin's words. He waved his hand and interrupted. Let Elder Bai bring Qibing back. No matter what, whether or not the qi gathering pill is real or fake, he has this filial piety. As his grandfather, I can't disappoint him. Father is wise. Zhao Guangyin said excitedly after hearing his father's words. Guangyin, this child. I'll acknowledge him, this time, of course. If the pill is real, I'll give him what he deserves. Old Zhao said. In our house, we've always been fair with rewards and punishments. Naturally, those who contribute will not be neglected. It should be real. Yu Huixing risked his life to get it. It can't be fake, Guangyin said. But House Yu, keep it a secret from Jean. If Yu Huixing isn't an idiot, he wouldn't say it himself. Jean may be your wife, but she's still a Yu. Old Zhao said faintly. Of course, if we can't keep it a secret, then there's no need to keep it. We didn't steal or rob. It was a normal exchange. What can House Yu do to us? So be it. To me, the pill is much more important than the marriage with House Yu. Once I become a sky class, House Zhao's strength will rise to another level. You're right, Father. Guangyin breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that House Yu would really get the news and push all the responsibility to Qibing, handing him over. But now that Elder Zhao had spoken, he'd take all the responsibility on himself. All right, bye. Come in for a bit. Old Zhao's face was calm, but his heart was impatient. It was a qi-gathering pill. After all, a super medicine that could make him become a sky class. The sooner he used it, the sooner he could become a sky class. Head. Elder Bai quickly walked in and bowed respectfully to Elder Zhao. And Guangyin, Bai, you and Guangyin go to Songshan and bring Qibing back. Make sure he's safe. Old Zhao said. Yes. Elder Bai said. Father, I'm going to Songshan with Elder Bai. Is that okay? As for the Noble House Association, Guangyin was a cautious man. He'd suffered too much from his playfulness when he was young. If it weren't for the marriage with House Yu, he wouldn't have been able to become the young head of the house. Although he was the eldest son, his other brothers weren't any weaker than him. They were all mystic late-phase masters, so Guangyin had to be careful. That's not a problem. You're bringing our son home, not doing anything else. The Arbitration Association won't stick their noses into other people's business. Lord Zhao smiled and said, Guangyin, you've been a bit too careful all these years. I've been in seclusion. This isn't the bearing a future patriarch should have. If I really step into the heaven realm, then I won't be managing the family's affairs in the future. I want to pursue a higher heavenly Tao, and you should support the Zhao family. The Arbitration Association doesn't allow people from the hidden houses, especially Earth class masters, to go to the common world. They're afraid that the hidden houses and the noble houses will have conflicts and break the balance. But if you go do your personal business, that's fine. Yes, Father, I understand. Guangyin couldn't help but be overjoyed. Years of life had finally become a woman. Just as his father had said, once he stepped into the heaven class, then he wouldn't be managing the family's affairs anymore. At that time, he could slowly take over House Zhao and become the true head of the house. Guangyin and Elder Bai didn't stay for long. They both went to pack up and prepared to leave for Songshan Floating Cloud Bar. A black Audi A8L quietly parked in front of the door. After the driver got off, he quickly opened the front and back doors. The first to get off was naturally Elder Bai, followed by Guangyin. No matter what, Zhao Guangyin was the future head of House Zhao, and old Zhao's words had revealed some information. Elder Bai naturally had to give him the necessary respect. Elder Bai and Guangyin entered the Floating Cloud Bar. The bar was already open for business, and there was a lot of noise inside. Elder Bai frowned, evidently not a fan of this environment, but he didn't say anything. Where's your boss? Guangyin asked a random waiter. You're looking for the boss? Please wait a moment. The waiter wasn't surprised. He knew that there were many people who came to the bar to ask for Yao Wang's help, so he used the walkie-talkie to contact Su Jianna. Mr. Su, someone's looking for you. Su Jianong quickly walked out of the room and saw Guangyin and Elder Bai, but Su Jianong didn't know them. He walked over and said, "I'm the owner of the bar, Su Jianong. What do you need?" "Su Jianong? Is Zhao Qibing here?" Guangyin thought that his name was a joke. It was comparable to Tsihua's. "You're looking for Master Bing? May I ask who you are?" Jianong couldn't tell what these two were here for, and he didn't know if they were here to cause trouble or to seek medical help. "I'm his father," Guangyin said impatiently. "Get Zhao Qibing out here?" Jianong paused, subconsciously thinking that this was a sexual assault. After all, someone suddenly appeared out of nowhere and said that he was Zhao Qibing's father. It was normal for Jianong to misunderstand. "Tsihua bro, someone's sexual assault." Jianong quickly turned on the walkie-talkie and asked Tsihua for help. Guangyin was about to explode. He came here to look for his son, but was treated as a sexual assault? What kind of logic was this? He was just about to explode when he saw Tsihua rush out of the room with a few of his men behind him. Tsihua said as he walked, "Who dares to commit sexual assault here? Do you want to die?" "Tsihua bro, it's him. He says he's Master Bing's father." Jianong pointed at Guangyin. "Boss." Jianong didn't know Guangyin, but Tsihua did. Tsihua jumped when he saw that Guangyin was here in person. He kicked Jianong. "You bastard, this is the big boss. What kind of eyes do you have? He's Master Bing's father." "Ah?" Jianong paused, his face darkening. How would he know that this was Zhao Qibing's father? You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.